Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome to our stream. 1 second. What's up, folks? Hello, welcome to the stream. 1 second. What's up? What's up, folks? Tonight, I said this last time also in the last stream. I feel weird calling it design career counseling because who the fuck am I to give counseling, right? But somehow that title really resonated with people and it kind of created a nice environment. So here we are for part two of that video. This is design career counseling. But before we begin, okay, shout out to everybody who joined. What's up, Ananya? Hey, Bhavya. Hi, Ayushi. Hi, Raj. Neon Nebula, what's up? Hello, Umang. What's up? Nice to see you. So, before we get in, right, I'll just set the frame. The frame is, guys, I don't want to I don't want to enter this with like no with like this very authoritative state of bro, I know everything and I'm here to help. No. In the end, although this is called design career counseling, I just want to let you guys know. See, I'm a designer, you guys are a designer. We're figuring this out. For me as well, the interesting thing about design is it changes every so often as technology changes. So even for me, there have been moments of my design life where I was like, yo, are things gonna stay the same? Like what's happening? And then boom, I get hit with some new change, new stuff to learn. And of course, I started this when I was in college. So it's been about 11 years since I've kind of been doing design. But the what I've just found is it helps to approach these things with a sense of wonder, right? Like with a sense of curiosity. um, there is a lot of stuff always happening in the world. Tech is one of those fields that moves super fast, like faster than all other fields. And so with design, with being in tech, it's good to maintain that sense of curiosity and wonder rather than feeling like you have to play catch up, right? When you feel like you have to play catch up, the world is moving and like, oh man, I'm feeling so behind. We do feel that way. But then I found the best mindset is just approach it with a sense of curiosity, wonder. There is nothing you have to catch up for, right? If you're here, it means you are probably in your own design journey. You are figuring things out, and that's awesome. But if there is something I can help with today, let's make that happen. What's up, Ashish? What's up, Joy? Hey, Umang. Hello again. What's up, Siddharth? Okay, folks. Yo, Natansh, what's up? So let's get started. Okay, guys. Where do we start? So last one, I think it took a while, but then people came in and then we started seeing questions and we got into the flow of like a bunch of Q&A stuff. Today, maybe what I'll start with is let's see. Let's start with something interesting. Mm, One of my first things that I'm going to be working on, the cohort, of course, with the last couple days for it to go. Like I think applications are about 1 or 2 days left for applications. We're in the last final spots. So we're just clearing out the wait list. If any one of you is interested, definitely still a day or two remaining to apply, but then that's about it. Unfortunately, cohort is one of those things where we can't just accept people all the time, right? Like cohort is very calendar bound. So we have the cohort, we do applications and it stops. And then for a bunch of months, I am fully immersed in the cohort. So for 2025 cohort 10, it starts this Saturday. So that's something I'm looking forward to. One thing I'll start with, just to show you guys what I've been working on, or rather something I've just been putting together behind the scenes, is let's see. I've been putting together our list of mentors. We've got a bunch of mentors, of course, with every cohort. we have mentors who join us. These are industry mentors who are working in the field. For me, connecting with these mentors who are like out there working on projects, shipping stuff, making stuff happen, to me, that's an awesome way of just being connected of what's happening in the industry. So, like a lot of times when we speak to these folks who are also in the industry, whether it's our friends or some of these mentors, it shows you that some of the challenges we face as designers are very common, right? And there are ways to deal with it. Okay, let me switch to. Mhm. Let me maybe switch to Figma for a sec. So this is our incomplete work in progress mentor list for cohort 10. We've got a bunch of our alumni. So overall, just to give you a POV, we've got folks who are designers in the industry. So does it look a little bit blurry? I think Figma is loading. Hmm. So how do we choose mentors? Overall, one of our criteria is we try to make sure they have firstly working in an awesome team. That really helps. 3+ years of experience working at, whether it's B2B or B2C, at a company that kind of values design, where design is core to building products. Interesting thing is we also now, we always also try to make sure there's a few folks who are, on their solo path. So, or rather, the business building part. So, for example, we've got Adnan joining us, returning as a mentor. Adnan runs a design subscription agency. He's based in Canada called Superstellar. So, they've been doing some awesome work. We've got Ankit joining us. Ankit is head of design at Pratilipi. I don't know if you guys are aware, but Pratilipi is killing it in the content space, right? So, doing some really good work. Of course, we've got folks like Jivanshu working at some of these apps that we use every day. So Blinkit for me, one of my regular apps. We've got folks who are running their own stuff. So Megha, for example, she's been an alumni member. She's worked at Adobe as a designer. Now she's starting something new. So overall, I'm really excited. We have a few more mentors coming in. This is not all of them, but to me, this is a very interesting way of I get to stay updated. Um, you know, a question we also get sometimes from folks who are not in the cohort is how exactly does all of this work? Um, we create pods. So overall, the idea with the cohorts is we want to create like a simulation environment. But before I get into all these details, right? Simulation environment. What the fuck is that? Let's switch back. Folks, I want to talk to you about this idea of connection. Okay, we'll get into some of the Q&A stuff. Feel free to drop in the chat. We'll jump into it uh, pretty soon. um, for me, so, I mean, I hate to keep repeating this, but uh, I moved to Bangalore a couple months back, and for me, one of the reasons, so there are many reasons, of course, one of which was we're just ready for a change. One of the reasons for the move from Europe to back to India, in Bangalore specifically, from a professional side, right? Let's say professional side, was that I was feeling a bit disconnected, right? And something I said earlier in the stream, which is design and tech. It's one of those fields that moves so fast, right? With it's like speed of software, really fast. And I started feeling disconnected. Okay, this is sometime last year. I went to Figma config. That really helped with some connection and helped me realize what I was missing. In fact, this T-shirt you guys can see. This is the merch I got from Figma config. Guys, can somebody try this code out? So 67FF7F. I've actually not tried this. I don't know what the hex code is. Is it this green Figma? So wearing some Figma merch today. It's a nice one. It's a very cozy t-shirt. So what I was saying was I went to Figma config and meeting people in SF. It was also my first time in SF. Made a video about that on the channel. I felt this little bit sense of connection. Although I had no, I had really nothing. A lot of the folks I met there met them for the first time, interacted with them, right? A lot of Silicon Valley startups. But I felt this sense of connection because in those groups, right? So whether it was inside config, talking to people, whether it was at the post party, I went to the Figma, no, I went to the Framer after party, went to this other design community after party. There was a sense of connection that I felt instantly when I started speaking to people, because there was this kind of shared understanding that, yeah, the industry moves super fast, and the way to stay updated is really not trying to stress yourself out, having 100, 200 tabs open and just running. Yeah, that's one way to do it. Hmm. But, you know, it really reminded me of this concept we have at 10K, which is make friends, not bookmarks. Now, it sounds a bit cheesy. It's like, what the fuck does that mean? But it really kind of hit me, which is for me, ever since I've come back, what I've started feeling in Bangalore is when I speak to founders here, right? Founders who are hiring their designers, maybe they want to hire from 10K. When I speak to a lot of folks in, edge fields, so fields on the frontier, right? So meeting folks who are working in AI, working in Web3, there's the shared understanding of, hey, navigating the space, you have to have some sense of camaraderie with your folks, right? And so, anyway, point being, one of our themes moving forward for this year, as well as for this cohort, as well as for all our alumni, now that we are back in Bangalore, we have a space. The theme is connection, which is how can we feel closer connected to the industry? How can new cohort members joining feel better connected to the alumni network out there? Of course, if you're watching this, considering enrolling in the cohort or whatever, how can you connect better with me, with all the mentors that we have? But yeah, that's something that's been on my mind. Yeah, and so the value of connection, right? Big one. Something I also realized is, folks, by the way, we'll get into Q&A in a bit. So if you've got a question you want to talk about, if there is some kind of, if there is actually something that I can counsel you with, right? And when I say counsel, see, I am figuring this out just like you, right? But if there is some point of view or perspective that I can offer that can help you think things a little bit clearly in your mind, happy to help, right? I'm here for about an hour or so, maybe a little bit longer. We'll see how the stream goes. So drop it in the chat. I'll go through some of this stuff here. Let's have a discussion. All right. What are we talking about? So my two themes for this year: connection and wonder. Balloons just came up. Connection and wonder, right? And what the meaning behind that is, now that I'm back here, I am really putting in an effort to meet as many mentors as possible, right? So met, like, I think 5 or 6 just last week. I'm making an effort to meet a lot of people, founders, people who are in early stage startups, people who are at a little bit more established startups, making an effort to connect with them. A lot of folks, over the past, and I feel like maybe some of you can relate with this. I was not in Bangalore, right? So a lot of the connections, a lot of the people, the cool people I see doing stuff, mostly just online, seeing their work. Kind of, there are always these people that are on my radar. I'm seeing them on Twitter. They're doing cool stuff. So now I am in this zone where I am going a little bit out of my way, trying to connect with people, trying to find out what are the cool things people are working on. And not from a sense of I need something, right? Like, I think having spoken to some folks who are early stage designers, I realized that there's this icky feeling about networking, right? What's the point of networking? But to be very honest, something I realized is networking, this concept, the reason it feels icky is because there is something hidden in there, right? There's this hidden thing of, bro, I need to get something out of this person, right? Typically, networking events or like this kind of just idea of networking feels icky because it feels like, oh, I've got to be somebody else. Number one, it feels like I need to get something out of this interaction, which adds pressure to it. And then it creates this sense of where you're not with the other person talking to them. You are just feeling this thing of, fuck, when do I, am I doing something wrong? Like, you're just out of your zone, right? You're in your head rather than actually in the conversation. And what that does is it creates this pressure. It kind of removes the sense of wonder, like, oh, I wonder what this other person is working on. I wonder what they're doing, right? I wonder what are the things they've been like. The genuine curiosity about what other people are up to, little bit goes away when you start thinking, when there's this entire pressure around networking. So, point being, I think a lot of networking, the way to really approach it is not with any ulterior motive in mind, right? It's really with just the purpose of connection. And even connection, it's not like you need to like really become friends with this person or really, really, have a deep relationship. It's about just acknowledging that, hey, we're both on a similar path. We've got some stuff in common. You're working on your stuff. I'm working on my stuff. And we're going to see each other. We're going to see each other on the internet. We probably have some people in common. Um, I think the pressure of networking stops becoming a scary thing, or rather, connecting with people stops becoming the scary thing when you know, don't see it as this networking. I need to get something out, but starts becoming something fun when you have this sense of, oh wow, like, I don't really need anything. I'm just here in the zone. I'm just vibing. I want to know what you worked on. I want to just have a conversation with you. I want to ask you questions. Like, I want to ask you, what have you been working on? How have you been doing this thing? What does it feel like to do XYZ? Right. So that's something I've been doing, right? Going to a lot more meetups these days, going to a lot more events, doing a lot more one-on-one with mentors, with, even cohort members. And yeah, I'm going to continue doing that in 2024, 2025. Oops. Hmm. Other than that, guys, the other thing I've been kind of putting together. So these are, yes, some of our mentors. We've got a few more in the pipeline, and I think we're ready to close this. Actually, we already closed this, just a few more in the pipeline. The next thing I'm going to be working on are these briefs. So one thing we're doing differently is, actually, I don't want to reveal the whole thing, but for alumni, right? So if you are a member of past alumni, we're going to be sharing these with you in this upcoming cohort as well. We are working on a new alumni program. So it's a free program for alumni that want to participate in the cohort. It's an announcement we're yet to make this week, right? So the team, that's something they're really working on right now. Part of that is we want to improve this process, right? So to give you an idea, this, for example, is our website assignment, right? This starts in month 2. This is something I'm going to start working on next week, which is I'm going to be going out there, all some of these folks that I've been meeting, but I'm going to be going out there and putting together a lot more briefs. Like, I think it's a very exciting time to be a designer if you're able to maintain the sense of wonder. Like, I wonder how I can contribute to, something cool out there. This company or this founder that, or a YouTuber that I find really interesting. I want to do some interesting design work. So the goal has always been, how do we create fun briefs? How do we create briefs that actually keep you excited? I think a lot of the motivation issues around design, you'll notice when you're excited to do stuff, there's usually no motivation issues, right? A lot of motivation issues happen when you don't feel like doing it, or you're feeling a lot of resistance to something that you don't actually want to do. Anyway, one way to make that fun is interesting briefs. So this is something I've been working on as well, or rather will start working on in the next couple days. Hmm. Okay, let's take a question or two, and then we'll come back. I'll show you some more stuff. What's up, Ibrahim? He said Ibrahim's question is, how do I start applying to companies as a beginner? I keep delaying because I keep perfecting my projects, thinking, what if the companies I apply to don't like it? Now, good question, Ibrahim. I'm sure a lot of folks here have been in a similar position as yours. Even for me, I can tell you, it was freelancing that I started. So starting with freelancing really took away this pressure, because it was like, okay, I'm going to apply and either get this freelance project or not. And if I get it, great, I'll work on it for 2 weeks. If I don't get it, it's okay, I'll apply to the next one, right? So that's something that helped me. But overall, I do have a very good suggestion for you. Okay. And for those of you who are in this position of jobs, right? Folks who have jobs on their mind or like this kind of stuff, here's my general suggestion to you guys. The purpose of interviewing, of applying to companies is not supposed to be you versus the environment, right? It feels that way, which is you go on LinkedIn, you see, so many other people have applied for this job. The purpose of a job is really never been player versus environment, right? It's not you versus the environment and you're really fighting to get this outcome. It feels that way, but really it's not. The purpose of, like, I'm going to give you some POV, right? And then we'll go specific. The purpose has always been companies want to hire people that they can trust, that have skills. And so when I say skills, they can do stuff, they can figure stuff out. They're good at communication to some extent, so they can work with random people. Um, but here's the thing, right? The missing connection, like my suggestion to you, Ibrahim, would be the start, right? You said, how do I start applying? The start should be connection, right? So rather than looking at these companies as these, institutions out there that you somehow have to get yourself inside, and for that you have to apply for like a visa or something that you're in, like rather than making this a scary process of how do I get in, my suggestion to you, Ibrahim, would be start making some connections. And when I say connections, again, you know what we were talking about earlier in the stream, connections not from a sense of I need to get something out of this, I need to get a job out of this, right? Then you're doing this. Connections more from the sense of actually you have no idea what companies want if you've not connected to a real person. What if companies don't like it? Yeah, there will always be some people that don't like. But here's the thing, companies don't have a mind of their own, it's individuals inside those companies, right? So for you to be able to build that confidence that, I want to apply, firstly, but also the confidence to feel like you're good enough to apply, that will come via connection. Of course, I could give you this answer of just YOLO. Like, Jao, just apply for 100 jobs and you'll get 3 interviews and then hopefully you crack one of them. But really, you and I know the question is deeper than that, right? You could have done this if that was the answer. So, anyway, my suggestion, you will never know whether you're good enough or not. What if the companies I apply to don't like it? It'll always go either way, right? What's more important is the connection. Like, I want you to really connect with somebody who is a designer at a company already, somebody you can trust, one of your seniors. If you're like, if folks who are in the cohort connect with an alumni, it should not feel scary. It should feel like a challenge to be figured out. It should feel like a little bit of a puzzle that you're solving, right? Every day you should be like, oh, how can I get closer to this goal? The goal is not so scary. It's a puzzle that I'm solving. And perfecting your projects, here's the thing, right? Perfecting, like let's say you have something and you're just perfecting. It could be a loop where you're just absorbing this stuff, right? Like you're just doing things again and again. You're just moving rocks from here to here to here to here to here to here. But overall, there's just movement happening, right? Perfection in a direction, you don't know what that direction is, right? So my suggestion to you, Ibrahim, really, really make a connection, right? Make a connection to an alumni. I mean, if you're in the cohort, make a connection with some of your seniors who've done it. Make a connection with a real human person and be honest with them. Say exactly this, right? I'm trying to do this. Like the fact that you're talking, you and me over here, you did the right thing, right? But I hope you get some sense of what to do next. This is not the way to go. You can't just keep delaying it. Perfecting your projects, it's a loop. I'm sure there's improvements you can make, but then, bro, the goal is not to make a sexy looking Figma file. The goal is actually to make products that users will use. And so, as long as you're spending time perfecting your Figma files, your designs, you are still stuck in the same place of not being able to actually launch something that goes out into the world and the user uses it, right? So, my suggestion, get out of this, make some connections. Job is not player versus environment. In fact, don't even think it's player versus player. Like, oh, somebody's going to get the job and I have to fight for it. No, really, it's about connection. You'd be surprised how many interview processes don't are not really a test of your skills. It's more about, can we work with this person? A lot of times companies, like, even just thinking from the company's perspective, they don't want to spend 3 months just interviewing hundreds of candidates, 200. A lot of times they go with the first couple candidates who they're like, oh, this person looks good. I mean, their work looks good. They seem like they know what they're talking about. They clearly have some past experience or some past projects that are good. And overall, this connection part is also going to help you there, which is, in a interview, if you're sitting and you're in the scared position of having to prove yourself to the interviewer, that nervousness can come off as not confidence, right? It can come off as underconfident. Even though you might be very confident in your skills, sometimes you have this thing where an interview just doesn't go well because you are not yourself. You guys know what I'm talking about? You guys get what I'm saying? You're not yourself in an interview, and then you were in this imagined place of pressure and whatever, and then just things don't happen. Even though you had the skills, even though you had the confidence, you didn't get a chance to make that first impression or good impression. To put it in other words, with the pressure, you were so in your head that you didn't make the connection. Folks, interviews are all about connections, right? It's about, can you connect to that other person on the other end, right? So if you're able to take that sense of connection and apply it to your interview process itself, right, it's discovery. So connection is one thing I would say. um, Glad that was useful, Ibrahim. The other thing I would say is wonder, right? So rather than thinking about, am I good enough, brackets, am I good enough as in fear, think about, I wonder who I'm good enough for, right? Maybe that's one way you think about it. Or I wonder which company needs a junior designer, so they don't need somebody crazy. Then I wonder which company out there needs exactly the skills that I have. There are companies like that, right? But the thing is, if you assume every company is like this hard ass, like, 100 rounds or, 8 rounds of interview, you give up. Like, sometimes you're not even in a good state of mind to apply for the easy ones, right? There are a lot of easy ones out there. And when I say easy, more of, it's a good fit. Like, they don't have very crazy requirements. They just want somebody who's good to work with, pleasant to work with, who just gets the job done, right? And you'll discover that once you start connecting with more people. Okay, I know a little bit abstract answer, but I hope that made sense. All right. Okay. Question from Love Kiran. How can self-taught designers break into UI UX design? Well, Love Kiran, I have an interesting answer for you. Funny that you should ask. This Saturday, we start Cohort 10. Now, Cohort 10, this is our 10th cohort. We're doing a 4-month live cohort where we're going to actually be going through real projects with these mentors that I showed you. We're going to have a bunch of activities through this. Our core, I don't know if you can see this, it's a little bit zoomed in, but our whole idea is, we're a lifetime design community and we offer a rite of passage. Now, what's a rite of passage? Overall, what I said, it feels like this tech and design industry feels scary to get into, right? Even, in fact, even when I was in Copenhagen, which is not in the scene, not in Bangalore, I felt disconnected. Every once in a while, I'll be like, shit, I think I'm missing something. What's going on, right? So overall, what our cohort is, it's a 16-week program. It's a rite of passage, right? We take you through the core things that you need to know, the core connections you need to make, your first group of, your squad that you can actually work with, the mentors that we connect you with, the mentors who are, by the way, they're not just volunteers, they're paid to be a part of this program, right? We actively, for every cohort, go out there and recruit these mentors, right? We actually convince them to sign up and work with us. And a lot of these folks are alumni, so they do this with their full-time job. And we even like we're very specific about this, right? So having run at 10, this thing, we try really hard to maintain quality. Even mentors themselves have to have certain ratings, right? They have responsibilities and they're supposed to fill stuff. Point being, you know, the overall idea is these 16 weeks, you work on a bunch of stuff, and at the end of it, you're in the design community, right? So coming to our events, attending our sessions, having these connections within the community. We're a cohort-based course, so CVC. Different from a boot camp. A lot of boot camps are 1:1 or don't have. They're not really made for connection. They're kind of made for information transfer, right? So that's something we do differently. Overall, the goal, the idea also is the tech design industry. It's growing constantly, right? And so is our 10K community. And so there's never a scene of, we're not really going to gatekeep you and say, hey, there's only 30 roles available in the industry, and oh, these are what we have to do. The good thing is that the industry is growing all the time, and so that's a that's something that we are constantly growing alongside, right? We update the cohort and stuff. I'm of course now in Bangalore. I was in Copenhagen as of a few months back. My slides are getting cut out. Hope you guys don't mind a little bit. Founded in 2020, so we've been running this for 4 years. Jenil and I, we personally teach the cohort, so 2 times every week. Some companies that our members work at. I showed you some of our mentors, companies like Misho, Blinkit, Pratilipi, Atlin. Some companies you've heard of, Microsoft. Some companies that you might not have heard of, but doing some amazing stuff behind the scenes. Most of these folks in India, bunch of these folks outside as well, like UAE here. Companies that you've used, companies that you worked at, you know, Indian, international, Plot, for example, based in New York. Yeah. So that's the answer. I know I got into a little bit of, presentation. I don't really want to, in the end, we don't really have that many seats left, where it's kind of towards the end of the, like, I think we have applications open for 2 more days. But overall, this is the reason why we started, right? It's hard to do this. You really do need a community. It makes it more exciting and fun. UX design changes rapidly, and I do feel design schools, a lot of them lagging behind, right? I think the best thing about design schools is campuses. Campus life is awesome. I'm glad I didn't drop out of college, that I actually got to experience campus life. But then the best parts for me in college were not really the classroom stuff, right? It was the stuff that happened outside, the connections I was able to make. And a lot of that continued for me in the industry, which is, we had this funny term, which is design mafia after the PayPal mafia. Today, design mafia refers to cred, right? They've kind of taken over the term. But it was fun, right? Like for me, I think I have this sense of a little bit responsibility, which is I need to pay this back somehow. Like I did get quite lucky that I was able to join, let's say, housing.com quite early in my career. And like just this photo, for example, right? Shruti, she is now the co-founder of Wint Wealth. Rahul, he's the director of design at Polygon. Rama, he was the head of design at Headout. I think now he is at, oh no, he was at Zeta head of design. Now he's head of design at Headout. Neelam, I think she was at Allen. I'm not sure where she is right now. Manoj works at Google. And this is just like 5 random folks, right? Like overall, I got to connect with 40, 50 designers. And what I just realized is, um, why should schools, colleges, offices have this monopoly on making connections, right? Connections really is what it's about. Like a lot of times I could not find stuff on Google, but I got to know because I could just just WhatsApp and ask, how do I do this? Is what I'm doing correct? Right. So that's the idea. It's a 4-month program. We're starting this Saturday. So this Saturday is our first session. Sorry about the slides getting cut. You can probably imagine, as a designer, I hate when shit like this happens. But anyway, hope you guys get the idea. So that's the cohort. This is roughly our schedule. This time around, Saturday sessions 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Right. Wednesday sessions after work, so 7 p.m. onwards. I personally teach these sessions, me along with Jenny. Jenny's in the US, right? So time zone issues even harder, but we make it happen. Uh, FYI, it's not boring for me to teach because every cohort is different and we keep upgrading the curriculum. So I get to stay fresh. I get to actually interact with all of you. A quick note also is YouTube streams have a lag, right? They've got a lag of about 6 to 10 seconds. These are all conducted over Zoom with cameras on. Everybody, we've got these breakout activities, so group activities that we do. It's a really fun time. Besides that, we're also starting some bonus sessions. Um, Folks who are in Bangalore, you'll get to experience this. Folks who are not in Bangalore, we will try to publish this calendar in advance. So for the next 4 months, you can plan a trip to Bangalore sometime. Come meet me, come meet some of the other mentors, other members out here. We're also going to do some fun sessions, right? That are not just for the cohort. We'll do some open public sessions as well. Because in the end, as I said, my goal is to connect, right? Connect with more people, connect with folks out there doing fun stuff. Yeah. So, Love Kiran, my suggestion, enroll in the cohort if you're ready to make that full commitment. Other than that, I would say the good news is that there's plenty of information out there, right? What's not so plentifully available is connection, which is you can spend hours and hours scrolling reels, watching YouTube videos and not making too much progress. But the minute you're in a group of 5, 6 other people who are working on something together, right? A bit of a social motivation kicks in and you feel connected to, mm, let's just say, you feel a bit more excited to do it. So, Love Kiran, that's my biased answer, of course. But other than that, I would say if you're still exploring this, you're not 100% ready to commit to like something like a cohort, check out the playlist, right? So I will suggest two, right? I've got this one crash course of design playlist on my channel. Other than that, Ansh, right? Ansh Mehra, he's another design YouTuber. We're friends. He's got a really good Figma playlist as well. I think it might be useful for you to check that out. Yeah. Hey Kshitij, what's up? Thank you for the super chat. Kshitij says, I got into SaaS sales. Okay, nice. So B2B sales. How to navigate in a career like this? Would love to have your take on it and want to eventually have a startup of my own. Kshitij, I'm not sure if you're asking about design or about SaaS sales. I'll give you I'll give you my answer, which is the thing is, I would say if you're in sales right now, the advantage that you have is every single day you're making connections, right? And when I say connections, not making friends or something, I mean every single day you are connecting with a potential lead, a potential prospect. And whatever the company that you're in, you are kind of the person who's kind of out there discovering what customers want. Even the sales ability, right? A lot of the sales ability comes down to your effectiveness as a salesperson, asking the right questions, right? Finding out what's the most valuable thing that this person is looking for. So my suggestion to you, Kshitij, overall, if you're in sales, it's great because I feel like sales does teach you a lot. It teaches you firstly persistence to keep it up. It teaches you secondly that a positive outcome is sometimes just a couple connections away, right? Um, Besides that, what I would say is with that as your core skill, you want to build something of your own. Check out this video that I just posted this week, I think, no, last week or Saturday, so 2 days ago, called Tech and Design feels a bit weird right now. In that, we spoke about this idea of um, how design, product dev, and then marketing and sales, how exactly these are connected. And I think that just looking at that diagram, going through that video, it'll give you an idea of what the through line is. So if you are in sales, what's the next thing you could do to maybe get a little bit more involved into product, whether that's websites, whether that's whatever the top of funnel is. So I definitely say check that out. That's my take on it. If you want something specific, definitely can answer that. Yeah. Garlic bread, what's up? Nice PFP. Most of the interviews I've done as a creative, they focus on portfolio and my personality because at the end of the day, even if you work well but aren't fun to work with, the company won't choose you. So portfolio isn't everything. Yeah, actually, you're right about that, which is good perspective. And I just want to talk about that a little bit, which is being good at Figma. That's just the qualifier. That's just the base level, right? That's just like, yes, you should be able to do it because that's actually the job, right? So doing design, turning requirements into specific uh, things that you can actually design, finding out these user needs and desires, translating them into eventual products that should be built. But really, guys, I can tell you this, having worked at multiple teams, multiple design teams, having interacted with, you know, a lot of these, mentors, right? Mentors who are working at very interesting companies, very different design teams, very different domains. In fact, the what makes a company successful is not just the design. It's not just the products that they build, right? In the end, you might have heard this as, oh, culture is important, company culture. And sometimes it just feels like, bro, what the fuck is company culture? What is a vague thing, right? Design teams, the success of a company is very dependent on the success of the team. The success of the team is how well are you able to work together, right? On a side note, I was on Reddit, and now I was on some subreddit reading some masaledar thread, and I came across this. I think this is a really toxic subreddit, and I won't say toxic. It's more the situation that's toxic. But I came across this subreddit of people. What was it exactly? There's people bitching about their work. So I think it's called Indian Workspace, and I read that and I got a little bit depressed. I was like, bro, everybody seems to be having such a shit time at work. People are talking about their toxic managers. People are talking about, oh my, this thing didn't get leave, or like this person did this. And really, like a bit of a car crash. You don't want to look away. Like some really toxic stories in that subreddit. But then I realized, yeah, I'm sure there are some negative companies like that, right? And a little bit selection bias. You don't really talk about the positive, you talk about the negative. But the best companies are not toxic. The best companies are not the ones who figured out the best way to control people and control the team. The best companies are the ones who empowered their team to individually be aligned to the company, to actually take on responsibility because they know that they are getting better, selfish reason. And then they know that the better they get, the company gets better and they improve, right? So good companies have good connections between teams. And so, this is a true point, which is a lot of interviews at creative, it's really a vibe check. Now, I sometimes I don't like to say that because some people can take this as a real negative, which is, oh, vibe check. Fuck, I don't have the right vibe. I am uncertain about this. Fuck, I'm not gonna get it. That's so XYZ. But point is, guys, with the creative jobs, yeah, in the end, people do want chill people to work with, right? So don't carry so much tension about, oh, my job lagegi and like I'll have to go through this grind. Guys, as a creative person, you want to be a little bit cool, relaxed, calm, so that you actually, when the right opportunity presents itself, you can creatively go in that flow, right? Good point, by the way, garlic bread. And yeah, welcome to the cohort. Excited to start on this Saturday. Tyagi, bro. Tyagi says, I want to start my own community startup, share tips. Um, I want to make another company like 10K designers for programmers. Now, bro, I'll give you a very serious answer, right? I'm not going to ignore your question. Um, the thing is, you want to, firstly, I'll talk about this idea of community, right? Find something that you struggle with. Find something that is preventing you from connecting with the industry, preventing you from connecting with whatever your goals are. With communities, it starts with a small group of people, right? And then it kind of goes bigger. The start for a community is a group chat, always, right? Now, folks, you might be thinking this is kind of a diversion from the topic. This is a very relevant topic for all of you guys. Of course, you want to work with other creative people, people who are cool, doing interesting stuff. You want to learn from other people, even if it's just something casual, right? It's just fun to talk to people who are doing interesting stuff. Every community starts with a group chat. I'll be very honest, right? That's really how it goes these days. You want to start a community, start a group chat. Even if you don't really want to do cohorts and do what 10K designers is doing. Any community, right? For example, you um, want to get better at something like fitness. Start a group chat, right, with people and beyond that, of course, I've been doing this for like with a company for 4 years, but the community started way back. One thing you can check out is check out my really old streams. So my suggestion, Tyagi, is from a skills perspective. What you need is, first, you need to be a good communicator. It really helps. Now, I wasn't a very good communicator, but I tried practicing a lot. Secondly, you want to kind of be authentic, right? If you are really yourself and clear about what you want, which is, hey, I'm creating this community because very clear reasons, you typically can attract people who align with what that is. Um, but in the end, bro, I don't know what your current skills are, right? So overall, my suggestion would be start small, start with a group chat, find out how you can help this group chat. And when I say help connection happen. So you and all these people, can you meet together with some kind of shared goal, whether online on a call or in person, and go bigger from there, right? Yo, what's up again, Aditya? Started CRO, very demotivated as I'll be 25 this year and feels late. Hmm. See, Aditya, um, I totally get what you mean. It's it doesn't really go away, the sense of demotivation. It's just that when you're in the flow, you don't notice it and you don't have to make an effort to be demotivated. But the minute you disengage, disconnect, or a big break happens and momentum breaks, that's when everything comes down. Like, even I get, like, sometimes I'll have a really good weekend and then Monday is filled with anxiety because I'm like, fuck, bro, like, I was doing so well on Friday. Then big disconnect happened. Now I have to rebuild this entire thing, get back to my productivity of last week. So what I can say, Aditya, 25 this year, a conversation I was having just earlier today with my sister is, we have to be in the industry working, assume, okay, at least 30-40 years. Next 30-40 years, we have to do some stuff. And again, guys, that's, I don't mean that as a scary thing, right? I mean it as an opportunity. Think about all the cool stuff you will get to work on, you will get to design, you will get to work on with other people, actually launch things over the next 20 to 40 years. Now, yeah, I know there's a scary part in there, but I'm fucking excited, bro. Like, I'm a little nervous also, I'll be honest. But there is no such thing as late. And I'll tell you why. It's because there is no end state, right? Late to something. The thing is, like, let's say you're late to a dinner, it's because the dinner starts at a certain time. And so after that, you're late. But the thing is, there's no such start and end, right? Life is a continuous flow. So what you want to find is, how can I get into the flow and then not block myself, right? So my suggestion to you, Aditya, of course, I don't know too many details, but I would say the learning part, keep it going with a little bit of sense of wonder, right? I also, having been in education space, right? I was like, even way back in 2017, designing for Unacademy. We had to build the entire educator app, learner app. my team and I. Something I did understand about motivation is when you're doing padhai, right? So when you're learning, if while learning you're thinking about, bro, I will have to get a job using this, right? If you are like, it takes you out of the actually the flow of actually absorbing information and just doing it in a casual way. If you're constantly thinking about the future, it takes you away from the present moment. So just something about learning that I will say is, if you're in that stage where you're learning CRO, you're going into some of this depth, um, keep that up more with a sense of wonder. Like, what can I apply this to? Not pressure, but wonder. What can I apply this to? Is there something small that I can do where I can actually test some of these skills out? Or even better, right? You want to make things easy for you. Find somebody who's already doing it and find a way to just do it along with them, right? Um, what that might mean is a team, company, um, or even a collaborator of some sort. Yeah. Okay. Close to nature. Question: can you please brief about masters in strategic design? Now, I am not so sure because it really depends on the program and the country. My general suggestion that I will say is, it might be worth the experience just to go abroad, just so you know what's out there. And then later you will be able to say, is that for you or not? Like for me personally, early in my career, I had no intention of going abroad. I thought about masters actually, to be honest. In right out of college, I didn't want to do masters because I was way too excited about, getting a job, about doing design with a team. So in college, I was not thinking about masters. I was like very excited to start working. I started working and then I got very excited about trying to do a startup. I did the startup. I mean, I quit the job, did the startup, it failed. And then I was thinking about masters, right? So tell me what program. I'm not so sure. If I've heard about it, maybe I'll be able to tell you more. In general, though, going abroad, awesome experience, right? Even outside of the professional side of things, just the personal side of things, kind of useful. Which is an example. Yeah, I was saying I was thinking about going abroad or applying for masters and all this. Then I realized I don't really have the money, and I didn't really want to take on a huge loan and all that. I was not that serious about doing it. But when the chance happened, 2020, I actually got to move to Europe, even though I did not really plan for it. Got married, my wife got a job, moved. It was an awesome experience. But then I also realized, hey, it was not the right time for me. Right? I feel like I could have an awesome life in Europe if I was 50 plus and had already made my money, right? But now I'm 31 and I feel like I'm 21. I feel like I'm 21 because I feel like there's so much I don't know. There's so much I don't know. And I kind of feel like my entire 20s, now it feels like this. Like my entire 20s was actually an audition for what I'm about to do now. I don't know if this is relatable or not, but kind of what it feels like. So, masters in design, it's an experience. If it's abroad, go for it. Focus on making connections, right? Something I wish I could have done a little bit more, or I wish it was a bit easier. I wasn't able to fully crack it. The thing is, um, I went abroad not for college, right? So my wife had gone for college. She got a job, and then I moved because of that. She's in design too. So she did a master's in design at Copenhagen Institute of Interaction Design, CIID. So for me, not being in a college, having moved abroad, not for a college, I found it quite difficult to make connections. So I wish I could have made more connections actually in Copenhagen. It was not so easy. Um, I could have tried harder. Um, but yeah. Okay. Question from Garima. Hey Garima, what all things I should include in my profile to stand out while applying to companies with AI into picture? See Garima, AI into the picture doesn't really change too much when it comes to this, right? What you include in your profile ideally should be work that you've done. If it's concept, totally cool, but make it good. If it's a real project, it might be boring. It might be more boring than the concept project, but it needs to be good, right? It needs to overall the vibe, right? When it comes to pro- projects that you include, what to include in your profile. The thing people actually try to look for is, can this person get excited about stuff? Are they excited about the work that they did? Because motivation is one of those things where, as I said earlier, when you're really excited about something, you just do it. You don't think twice. So, overall, Garima, what I would say you should include in your profile is the projects that you've done. Now, if you've not done any projects, that's probably where you start. Ideally, it should be stuff that you're excited about. If you're not sure about that, try finding some areas. I'm sure there must be something out there in design that excites you, whether that's being able to make a really cool website, whether that's making some kind of app prototype, something that's fun to use. Try to find the fun thing, mostly because, I would say, rather than start with the boring thing and try to figure it out, try finding the fun thing going after that. I know that's probably not the answer that you wanted, which is you wanted maybe more tactical, but then I don't have too much context, right? What's your experience level like? What I will say though, Garima, is remember this: the projects, it's not really that you don't have to feel this pressure of you're being judged for those projects, like by some super advanced jury, and then you get really nervous and then you go there and you're like really scared to be yourself. The projects are a peek into the kind of stuff that you've done, enough to get the other person interested to get on a call, right? Remember this. Those of you who are working on your portfolio or even case studies, you might be thinking, what should I include in my case studies? How much? I'm sure there are other resources you've seen around this as well. My main suggestion is a portfolio. You should feel excited about the stuff you put there, because that excitement is contagious and the other person sees it. They're like, oh, wow, look at this person. They poured all their heart, effort, soul into making this really cool thing, whatever that might be. And it should be enough that the person wants to make a connection, right? So get on that first call. This is also how you get freelance clients. Um, Maybe not a very actionable answer, Garima, but I don't have enough context to go a little deeper. Yeah. Mm. Hey, Abhinav, what's up? Abhinav, speaking to Abhinav. How do you approach research? I don't have any sources to do quantitative research. Maybe your process helped me out and you're in this industry for a long time. Is UX UI saturated like web dev? Okay, so multiple questions in there. How to approach research? Okay, so I'll show you an example. Okay, maybe I can show a visual example. But before I do, folks, you have this. Any of you have this question around research? Let me just tell you this, right? Research is not a script to be followed. It's a process of discovery. I'm going to say that again. Research is not a script to be followed. Like, oh, I need to do these things, otherwise, I'm not doing research properly. No, it's about discovery. It's about how do you discover. Now, you're saying quantitative research, okay? Uh, so, quantitative would be how can I, use more the data to figure stuff out. I don't have a good answer for quantitative research. Thinking, I do have a good answer for qualitative. At the start of a project, quantitative research. See, the thing I have found with quantitative research is it really does depend on your team. If you have product managers that you have a good connection with, who can actually, you know, present their insights to you on how certain things happen, that makes this a bit easier. But unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for you, Abhinav. I don't want to make stuff up just SE. I don't have a good answer. quantitative research. Personally, my entire time in the industry, most quantitative research has kind of been working with product managers or working with data, but then alongside product managers or analysts to see whether I can uncover insights. So the thing I said about earlier, right? It's research is a discovery process. When it comes to quantitative, research is a discovery process where you try to use these numbers, these metrics, to influence your decision. So I unfortunately also don't have any resources to share. Is UI UX saturated like web dev? See, I'm not even sure if web dev is saturated. Um, see, my general POV on this is it's competitive in the sense that, for example, I know, like let's taking an example, right? I know Blinkit, for example. Now, Blinkit is such an amazing app. I don't know why I'm glazing Blinkit. I just use it a lot. Okay. Instamart also awesome. In fact, I just downloaded Instamart, launched a standalone app. I'm yet to check it out. I would say, sometimes people confuse this idea of saturated and competitive. So just to give an example, right? Blinkit, millions of users, almost a household name at this point. But so let's say Jivanshu, right? Jivanshu now senior product designer at Blinkit. He was in cohort 3 and he started his industry as an actuarial analyst, right? So something more data and numbers. Today is a senior product designer at Blinkit. Now Jivanshu made the switch from actuarial, which is like more in the insurance space, actuarial analyst, to design cohort 3, right? So he made this transition sometime in 2020, 22, I think, right? In fact, we have a video with Jivanshu on the channel where he talks about this experience. So if anybody's interested, you can check that out. But what I will say, right, it's more that everybody wants to apply for these top companies, right? These consumer apps. So Swiggy, uh, let's see. We have Kunal. Kunal, I think, was in cohort 4. He's today he was an alumni. Today he's working at Swiggy, returning as a mentor with this cohort. I think he's got about 3+ years of experience. The thing is, it feels saturated because the roles at these companies are quite limited, right? Just giving you Blinkit's idea. I'm not sure if this information is confidential and should reveal it, but the number of designers at Blinkit, very small. I'm thinking, should I reveal it? It might be confidential. Jivanshu told me how many designers Blinkit has. Product designers. Okay, I won't reveal it on stream. Okay, but it's a very small number. Like whatever number you're thinking, it's probably smaller than that. Okay. Now the point is, everybody wants to apply to Blinkit. They want to apply to Swiggy. They want to apply for these very popular companies. But then the thing is, they don't have a lot of designers. In fact, at these kind of companies, there's more devs than designers. In fact, okay, anyway, point being, is it saturated? No, it's not, because there's a lot of opportunities out there like freelance, global work. You can start your own thing, you can do services, you can apply for a company, you can work in B2B, you can work in B2C. There are industries you could get into like SaaS, AI, Web3. So the games out there to play are a lot, but it's saturated if you're trying to play the same games as everyone else, which is, if the game you're playing is I want to get into Blinkit, Swiggy, Zepto, then well, it's a very difficult game to play. And yes, that's a bit of a saturated game because the people who are getting into these companies, right? So just in this screenshot alone, these mentors that we have, it took Jivanshu about 3-4 years working at different companies to get into this. So it was definitely, Blinkit is definitely not looking for early stage designers. Same with Swiggy, right? For Kunal, I think this was his third role, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong on this. But Kunal probably could not have got Swiggy as his first job, right? Why? Because it's just a very limited number of roles. So it's very competitive in these circles. Now, point is, it's still probably aspirational to apply to Blinkit, Swiggy, Zepto, and work at these awesome companies. But there's a lot of amazing companies with very happy customers making really good revenue, You have awesome PMs that you can work with, awesome engineers that you can work with. There's also design agencies out there, but the thing is, nobody's heard of them. So I would say this idea of saturation, it really depends on the games you're trying to play. If you're trying to really squeeze into the thing that everybody's going for, like if Swiggy puts out a job post, everybody's going to apply for it, right? But the point is, there's a lot of not mainstream name companies like Swiggy that just as good or even better, and those spaces are not saturated. They're pretty much invisible, right? And really, the way you find out about all this stuff, right? For example, do we have any mentors from Web3 space this time? Uh, Okay, maybe. Not sure. But something like Web3, it's difficult to break into, but a lot is happening in that space, right? And it might seem like the peak of Web3, crypto is kind of not very active. Web3 is very, very active. But for you to find out your space in Web3, you will have to make connections with people who are already in there. And then you realize actually it's not really that it's saturated, it's just that people don't have clarity and so they don't try, or they don't have a connection and so they work off of like random YouTube, or rather they don't have the correct information to actually make a good entry. So there are a lot of these unexplored niches, right? And earlier I used to be like, okay, let me bring up that question again. It was around saturation, right? Earlier I used to feel like, bro, the saturation idea, so it's so dumb, right? Like in the end, if you're excited about something, go and do it. Why do you care about what everybody else is doing? But then over time, I did realize, even for me, let's say, as somebody who has experience, let's say if I was starting a design agency, I would not want to compete with agencies who have 5 years, 10 years experience over me, right? I would ideally want to go into a space that traditional agencies don't want to get into, or a space that is new where there haven't been clear winners yet, right? So I would, so point is, the way to avoid saturation in any industry, design, marketing, dev, whatever you're talking about, is try to find things that are on the edge, right? So find newer industries. So newer industries, what that might look like right now is Web3, AI, not so much spatial design, although I'm sure there is stuff happening. I've just not been very updated with the developments in there. Try to find newer industries, right? If you're feeling the saturation. Yeah. Or, sometimes it might not even be a global thing, right? Like it might be something like agencies, design agencies. Now, I know, for example, one of the big names in India for design agencies would be. Can you guys give me some design agency names, please, in the chat? What are some design studios that you've heard of that are on your radar? Can you just let me know in chat? I want to take an example. It's a Lollipop, right? Lollipop Design Studio. Now they've been doing some killer work many years. They've in fact even been acquired few years back. Okay, seeing some names. Siddharth, you read my mind, bro. Lollipop, yeah. Here's the thing, right? The first answer was Lollipop. Point I'm trying to make is we all there are these winners in the space. So if I was starting an agency, I would probably not try to compete with Lollipop. The other side of things, if I was a designer, I would definitely apply to Lollipop, number one, because it's popular. And it might feel like you and I know Lollipop, but it's not as big as, let's say, Swiggy, which is a national brand, right? So Lollipop, only kind of designers probably know this. Point is, if I was a designer, I would definitely apply to Lollipop, okay? And other agencies. Okay, wait, let me put it in a structured way. If I was an agency founder, I would not try to compete with Lollipop because I'd be like, they have a competitive advantage. So what I would try to do is I would try to go into a field that is more new, that Lollipop doesn't have an advantage in, right? Or a field where there aren't too many winners. Now, if I was looking for a role, I would apply to Lollipop because that's the, of course, most popular one. Shoot your shot. But there's a lot of agencies out there that are not that huge that are also doing killer work. And realize this, right? The smaller the company, more likely that there's a stronger connection between the team, and it might just be that they don't actually get that many applications. So a good personal connect where you make an attempt to directly connect with the founder, show your competence, show your curiosity. Like just a cold DM with one or two calls might be enough to crack a role at an agency, right? So anyway, that's my POV that I was just talking about. um yeah. Yeah, the overall thing we were talking about is saturation. I would say if you're trying to play these very common games that everybody's playing, there can be areas where there's a lot of competition, but there are areas with very low competition. And so you want to try to discover and find these areas, what they are. And it helps to be early to things. So, for example, I started designing apps in 2013, and that was, you know, guys, in 2013, I thought I was late to apps. Why? Because the App Store had come out in 2009. And so I was like, fuck, it's been happening for 4 years. So I thought I was late to it. But the point is, I would still get projects. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm getting lucky, or maybe my portfolio is really good. But really, it was because the field was so early that there weren't very clear winners. And now I'm sure there were winners that I don't remember now, because 4 years is still a significant amount of time. But in 2013, I thought I was late to apps because I was like, ये तो हो चुका है. But no, the point is, I was just early to it. And so it helps to be early to stuff, right? Be on the edge of these industries. You will find interesting stuff. Um, and design, especially, is interesting because in the end, everybody needs to attract customers, everybody needs to create digital experiences. Um, Even if it's something like Web3, a lot of learnings from Web 2 directly can be used. But of course, there's all new stuff you have to figure out in Web 3, right? That's an example. Yeah. How many people in cohort 10? About 150 people. And so 150 people, we have about 35 mentors, which means your group, if you are in, oh, I think, Prabha, if I remember correctly, you are enrolled. I don't know. If you are enrolled in the cohort, your group size will be 10 designers and 2 mentors, right? And the mentors, it'll be a random selection, somebody from this right here. So your group size will be 10 plus 2 mentors. Of course, you'll still be taught by me, and we will still interact during the cohorts. We'll have over 4 months, I think we will, and when I say we, you, me, Janil, we will have about 30 or 32 sessions of, I don't know, 3 hours each. So overall with the cohort, you and me, we're going to be interacting for 100 plus hours, right? So one thing for me, being in this position of being an educator alongside my hands-on design stuff, is I've just learned not to hold anything back. Like, I don't know if you guys are feeling this, but even on these streams, I don't think so much about, fuck, I don't want to tell you that because then you will have an advantage and I'll, no, right? Through these cohorts, I've just found, for me, it's easier to just teach everything I know. Like, literally teach everything I know. You ask me, maybe not on the stream, but in the cohort, you ask me, yo, at housing.com, what was your salary? I'll tell you, right? So anyway, bit of a diversion, but looking forward, bro. Looking forward to seeing you there. DIR access to the server, yes, we will. We are making an announcement on this in the next couple days. We've created a slightly interesting more program around this. Yes, alumni will be invited. Although the DIR term, we're probably not going to use it. We're going to change it a little bit. But yeah, alumni will be invited to participate in cohort 10, as well as the IRL stuff that we do in this new office. Question from Rishabh: what to do if you don't have good projects in your service based company? Interesting one. I'll show you an example, okay, Rishabh. Um, what to do if you don't have good projects? My suggestion is to find something that's interesting to you, fun, like it's not serious, right? Like let's say if you said, hey, let's say you're really into fitness and you wanted to launch a fitness community and you're like, okay, I'm going to make a landing page for this. It might feel not serious in the sense that, oh, it's not a corporate project, it didn't make any money. But design really, it's not always about quantity, right? Like, oh, this design performed this much with this much results. Yeah, sometimes it is. But a lot of times design is really about the quality that you do, right? So my simple suggestion, Rishabh, would be try to do more self-initiated projects. Now, self-initiated projects roughly fall into two categories. One is curiosity driven, so something that you just want to do because you are so excited about it. And the other is a little bit more discovery driven, like you find something out there that you want to work on. Let me show you some behind the scenes. So, we have something called Design Studio Simulator, right? It's a series of sessions. So, I think it starts at the end of month one, Design Studio Simulator. And during those sessions, we live design process, actually work on a brief, right? So, this is one of the older ones. Guys, we came up with a very, also, the thing I will say about self-initiated projects, like whether it's curiosity driven, something you want to do, or discovery driven, something you find on the internet and you want to solve this. What's important is you keep it fun. So here's an example, right? One insight I had just one day, I was scrolling on Reels and I was like, yo, it seems like the new goal for people who are getting married is to go viral on Reels, right? So that led to a conversation which led to a brief that I created, which is, what if there was a videographer who guaranteed that, yo, you hire us for your wedding, we will make sure you go viral on Reels, right? It was kind of a little bit of a funny idea, because yeah, people are spending like sometimes crores on their wedding. Why shouldn't they want to go viral on Reels and showcase this whole experience design that they've run around their wedding? So this is a brief that we did. It was a curiosity driven, right? I kind of had this curiosity, like, oh yeah, and then it was discovery driven, where I noticed this behavior, and so we did a role play where um, I think I was the client, if I remember correctly, or I'm not sure, I don't remember, but we did a role play where we did a client designer role play where I was like, actually, I'm forgetting who was the client, but let's just assume I was the client, right? So I came up with this whole story like, oh, bro, I'm based in SF. Oh, my brother does this, and we are really interested. We have a family business, this, that. It was more of a fun thing. But we very seriously went through this and we actually wrote notes around, okay, um, like take a fun concept, approach it with full seriousness, right? So we did this client role play. And then two of our mentors in the cohort, Smith and Josh, I got them involved, right? I was like, bro, can you help me with the visual design stuff? So Smith from C5, Josh from C3. I was like, yeah, let's do some visual design stuff. Then I got like, I literally had a call with Smith and we are talking about, and he works at One Card and he's talking about this. And I was like, fuck, I also want to do it. So I then jump into it and now I am designing, you know, this thing. And then I'm like, oh, I need illustrations. And then so I go deep into some of these AI tools, which is, I mean, I don't want to show you the full video. I can't show it here. But I'm like now generating with AI illustrations I can use on the site. I'm like writing full copywriting. Oh, all of this. I'll show you the little bit of the result, which is, we actually went through in the cohort this entire design process for just this fun idea, which was, we made a GPT with all the client notes. We generated a PRD. We used a little bit of FigJam. Like this was the mock call that we did. So we went through a lot of like basically we went through some more of the goal for me usually in the cohorts is how can I teach a very serious topic, but in a fun way, such that you want to try it out yourself. Right? That's typically how I think about this stuff. So anyway, just things like using Jambot. Today there are a lot of AI note taking apps, right? So by the way, if you're ever using, one recommendation I'll give you is this app called Granola.ai, right? It helps you make meeting notes. But if, for example, you as a designer are making meeting notes, very, very useful, right? Even more useful today with AI, because you can take these meeting notes, you can feed it, let's say, into FigJam, create these summaries, but then also you can use that as the corpus to come up with stuff like this, like what exactly, your entire planning for the project. Or you can even make custom GPTs with your literally meeting notes with clients. Clients, by the way, clients don't know that this is even possible, right? In fact, most designers, I'm not sure, have tried this feature out. But when you have this curiosity and you want to take this fun thing and really push it to an extreme, you're more likely to try stuff like this out. I'll show you guys a little bit more and we'll jump back to remaining questions. So we did this. This was fun. And then this gave me the opportunity also that I was like, okay, let's do some good copywriting. So the mock call we did, this is all Design Studio Simulator, by the way. This is our month 2 activity that we do. We take a real brief and then we actually break it down. And we share all these fig jams and all these resources with you guys. We took all these notes from a fake, mock call that we did with the client. Even used things like GPT to come up with, content, come up with, what's the best marketing frameworks that we can use to really put it in an interesting way. Um, things around how do you improve your copywriting of your page. Like, we were talking about some CRO earlier, which is, that's conversion rate optimization. But on a very general note, when you're working on these kind of landing pages, communication is a core part, right? Even if your visuals are slightly not good, your communication needs to be clear. So anyway, we did that. We did a bunch of qualitative research, you could say, right? So checking out a lot of industry reports, going into any insights we could use. We found this one interesting one, which is 50% of brides regret not spending more on their videographer, right? And so literally during the process, we found this and we're like, fuck, this needs to be on the landing page. We did a bunch of course, some competitive research. So finding out what the industry is like, how much of transparency do they have, what is it like in India, what is it like abroad, right? Just a bunch of discovery. We went a little bit deep into the UX parts around, what do I say? Around decision making, right? So specifically, how can you improve trust on this page? Because, talking about this brief, hiring a wedding videographer is a big commitment. You typically, it's a big deal. It's a very important event. So we found stuff like this. What are some ways we can improve trust on the page? How are other competitors, clients doing this? But anyway, the reason I wanted to show you this is few reasons, right? Number one, if you this I can totally imagine this being a very, very boring project. Okay, like I can imagine this being a boring project where you're like, bro, अब शादी का landing page बनाएंगे, like not fun. But the point is, if you're able to create if you're able to firstly tune in on what's the fun part about this. I know it's a fake project, concept project, but how can I take this very seriously and actually go deep? So anyway, this was a one of the simulator thing. We did a similar one. I think the cohort before this, we did something for like Garba or something, like a Garba event landing page, or I don't remember now. But yeah, guys, and even when it comes to AI, right? I think with AI, the problem is the most of the content we see is like, oh, like AI is going to change the world. AI is this, that. But the point is, if you for yourself want to figure out how useful is AI, also because AI tools keep changing every couple weeks, couple months, projects like this can be a good way to explore stuff, right? So coming back to why we got into this, the question Rishabh had asked was, what to do if you don't have good projects in your service based company? Well, Rishabh, the positive is that at least you have the experience. You've worked on some projects. Maybe you have an NDA, or maybe they're boring, so you don't want to show them in your portfolio. But can you take that experience that you've had working on these projects at a service based company, add or change it by 20-30%, find something you are either curious about, so your own interest, or something that you discover on the internet that you find interesting, and can you combine your old experience with your new interest and create this simulator for yourself where you actually make a new project? And the reason I'm complicating it, right? Like, actually, Rishabh, the simple answer is do a self-initiated project. But having been in your position, I know that motivation is a big issue, right? I can't get myself motivated to do random stuff. Sometimes I can, but stuff that I'm excited about, stuff that's kind of funny, or sometimes that's maybe fun to talk about, or in this case, uh, I did it as a squad, right? So I got these two folks, Smith and Justin Wall, Jenny. So it became like a fun social thing to do, and we had a lot of fun doing it. And in the process, we tried out a lot of stuff, and we learned a lot of stuff, right? So that would be my suggestion. If, by the way, for those of you who are in the cohort, I really want you to go through a similar experience, the thing that I described. These are, of course, last time's briefs. Um, so, for example, we had some really hardcore B2B stuff. For example, design a one-pager website for AI-powered platform for patent due diligence. Now, this might feel boring to some people, but for somebody who's maybe from a law background, or has interest in something related to this might just be a dream brief. So they see this and they're like, oh wow, like I want to work on this. Or we had somebody who um, forgot what the other one was, something like this, right? If you're a musician, this might just be a dream brief for you, right? Of course, maybe not if you have a very negative view of AI music. But designing an website for an AI music app, yeah, that's a fun brief. Not fun for everyone, I bet. But that's one of the reasons why we do 30, 40 briefs for every assignment. So, like, this was the landing page assignment, and then this was the app assignment. Okay, anyways, let's return to stream, return to some questions. Makes sense, guys. My suggestion, do projects. If you're enrolled in the cohort, of course, we will give you some interesting projects. Guys, in the end, little bit, it's my responsibility to make sure the cohort is not boring, right? I'm the chief not boring officer. That's kind of my role. This is something I'm literally starting to work on sometime next week, creating brand new briefs. Those of you are not in the cohort, by the way, I have been thinking about how can I publish some of these old briefs, because I think just in the last 1 or 2 years, we've done about 100 or 200 briefs, 100 to 200 design briefs. And so I have a little bit going off topic. I I really do want to create a website that has design briefs, like real design briefs that you can work on. And actually use some of these. Like, I've already done the work of finding these briefs, curating, making sure they're good enough. In fact, for some of these briefs, I've even developed, like, this background context and things like this. But yeah, what do you guys think about that idea? You think it would be interesting having a website that has, I know, the leading question, but is that something that's exciting? Because um, I know some people would find it really interesting, but again, I've not had the time to work on this. It's a side project that I want to do. I, in fact, even bought the domain for this. But yeah, okay, let's come back. What's up, Jivanshu? Folks, we were just talking about a couple minutes back about Jivanshu's design journey. We were taking just this example, right, which is Jivanshu today is a designer at Blinkit. Now, of course, I don't think Blinkit hires early stage designers, but the point is Jivanshu built his way up there, right? So starting from designer in 2021, doing the cohort, finding his first job through, in fact, the capstone project that we did as part of the cohort, to finding the next job and working his way up. Yeah, awesome. Hey Jivanshu, excited by the way to work together on the cohort. Some of you here probably going to be in Jivanshu's pod, in fact. So something to look forward to. Okay. Um, let's see. Let's come back to questions. So Rishabh, I hope that answered, bro. I hope that answered your question. I know I took a long-winded answer, but yeah. Mega's question. I don't know if I have a good answer for this, but trying to stand out and land opportunities beyond just following design trends, trendy UI designs. See, I'll say this thing about trendy UI designs. It's a test of skill. Okay. So if you see there's a trendy UI design, and what I mean by that, to be specific, is if you come across a design that you really, really like, and what I mean by trendy is just maybe it has a lot of retweets or a lot of likes or something like that. It's probably in trend somehow, like people appreciate this on a mass scale. The thing with trends, I would say it's not a catch up game. Okay. It's like, for example, I know that if you're early in the field, you might feel like, oh, like, let's take a random trend, like glass morphism. Fuck, I got to catch up. I'm so behind. I got to learn how to do glass morphism. That's not the way, right? I would say with trends, it's not a catch up game, it's a skill test. If something is trending, you come across some interesting effect, it's a skill test to see, okay, can I make this? If not, what's the gap? Or what do I not know that this other person knows, right? Wonder, curiosity. Don't approach this as a very thing where the industry is trying to force you to do trends. No, we're not. Trends, usually the reason something becomes a trend is somebody does it, or few people try it out, users love it, or people love it, or maybe designers love it, and then more people are tempted to try it out, and eventually it becomes a common thing, right? Like, for example, in SaaS design, I know that shadows and like the linear, what they did, that was a trend. But then as a designer, you shouldn't look at this as, fuck, I have to follow the trend or I have to catch up. It's a skill test for you. Something is trending, it means people are liking it. Can you make something that people like? In this case, this may be this trendy design. And so I would say take it as a challenge. I know even today, experienced designers, right? In fact, maybe some of these mentors here as well, they find interesting designs that are not exactly trendy, but like something out of the ordinary. Like, wow, aisa to maine, not seen something like this in a while. Like something that breaks the pattern, and then they try to recreate it. Not because they're playing catch up and they're like, fuck up, ab trend aa gaya, sabko seekhna padega. But more of, can I do it? It's a challenge to themselves, which is, what am I missing? If somebody else did this, how can I come close to doing that, right? So with trends, I would say don't take the pressure of having to follow trends, but take it as a skill challenge for yourself to try making something very close to it, right? In the end, that's practice, right? And you want to be excited about trends. That's the other thing I'll say here, which is, I think as you grow older, as you get more experience as a designer, like the future starts feeling like a threat. So you're like, nah, I don't want to do this, bro. Sab kar rahe hain, main nahi karna chahta. Like, you want to kind of counter signal, you want to go against the trend, sometimes. Um, but the point is, if something's a trend, it means it's working. So the thing I was saying, you want to be excited about trends because usually a trend means it's something new that broke the pattern. Like things used to be done a certain way, but somebody came and created a new way of doing things. That's exciting, right? So yeah, that's just my general this thing on trends. I hope that made sense. Yeah. Okay. Parash, I see your question. Okay. Which is, what do you think about the implementation of 3D elements in your website's elements? I'm good with Spline. I love it. I love it. In fact, on the 10K Designers website, we do 3D. For example, these things that you're seeing here, this cohort artwork, we every cohort we actually work with a 3D designer to actually make this and an animated version. So you've seen this, right? Oops. Let me try that again. Yeah. So, Parash, I would say the fact that you're good with Spline, awesome. In fact, we do a lot of 3D work with every cohort. We have not done this yet, right? I think one of the cohorts we wanted to do a Spline implementation in our website, but then the level of detail we had to switch to Blender instead of using Spline for it. And so we did not, anyway, we had launch timelines, and so we could not. But I think it's awesome. I think more and more um, we are seeing more 3D elements on sites. Like talking about trends earlier, yeah, it is a huge trend. But the reason also is because I think a lot of designers are scared of 3D versus the reality is that 3D is more accessible now than it has been in the past. And I don't mean learning Blender. Learning Blender is still hard. But things like Spline make it much easier to do 3D. And so if any of you are using Webflow or Framer, you can really do a good implementation with Spline, right? So I think good idea, bro. You should do it. The challenge though, I can tell you, is it's hard to do it in a way that it doesn't feel like a gimmick. Right? So you kind of want to not let it get in the way of things. But 3D is awesome. I love it. I wish I did more 3D. Right? I'm not so good at 3D. I usually have to hire a freelancer whenever I do 3D. But yeah, it's nice. Mm. What if there's someone who can't afford to take the 10K designers course, wants to network, design events, gain knowledge from alumni in industry? See, you can still do it, right? Only problem is like if you want to do it, so either you find something locally. So if you're in a city that actually has meetups, that's awesome. Go ahead. Making connections. See, what we do is we just create the environment in which the connections happen, and we have certain ways that we make it more interactive and engaging. So, what you don't have to focus on, how do I? Okay, let me give a direct answer. You can still do it. It's just that you have to take the effort of doing it, right? So, for example, wants to network, you have to find a good way to make casual connections with people who are in the industry, either meeting them IRL or DMing or interacting with their projects or some other way, right? Now, definitely possible. Yeah. Design events. Now, personally, I feel like after COVID, the number of online design workshops, online design events has really gone down after COVID, or rather, a few years after COVID. There used to be a lot more online activity. Actually, I'm not sure about this. Do you guys feel so? Do you guys feel the number of online communities and like online design community events and workshops have gone way down after COVID? Like, is it just my impression, or is that, do you guys feel that too? Because the reason I'm asking is I feel like a lot of design events happen in person these days, in major cities. But yeah, somehow I feel like the number of design events online have gone down. So anyway, what I will say, bro, is it's definitely possible. It's just you will have to put in that effort to figure out how to do it. Yeah. And in the end, what's important, right? I would, of course, love to have you in the cohort if it's a good fit. This one, of course, we're closing in 2 days. Maybe or maybe not possible. Future, whenever. But if not, what's just important is you do good work, right? Like in the end, if you've got the motivation to, you know, work on, oops, if you've got the motivation to, for example, go out there, find these kind of interesting statements for yourself, right? Find these briefs for interesting early stage startups or whatever might be interesting to you, then really you could make a lot of progress by yourself too, right? It's just that with this, we do a sprint, right? 4 months, it's a like we make it all happen. And then actually, the reason we're able to do it is just because we've done it so many times, right? If I had to start the cohort today, whew, I don't think I would be able to do it. Like, especially something of this quality, if I had to start today, I don't think I would be able to do it because this stuff took us 4 years to figure out to get to this point where it's like this. And I'm sure next couple of years it's going to, you know, keep incrementally improving. And so the way I think about it is, yes, you can form your own community and all that, but maybe it helps to be a part of something like this just so you have one more source. Like jobs, you can find stuff by yourself, but then having, like, for example, we've got a closed group. You can see on our website we do a lot of, we help promote your work and stuff. um what was I saying, bro? I lost track. Okay, bro. Point being, you can do it. You can totally do it. um What's important is you're putting in the work, you're working on your skills, following your curiosity such that you don't give up too soon, and more importantly, making connections, right? Making connections is important. I was a way more of an introvert when I was in college. I didn't want to make connections. My comfort zone was sitting in front of the computer and making stuff. But eventually, when I started interacting with people, I got a lot of benefit from it. Even opportunities, a lot of times in my life, I have never had to interview some stages in the past because I just know people who work at other companies and we have a good relationship. So they want to work with me. And so they let me know when a job happens, right? So a lot of times it also opens access when you have these kind of connections with designers. So definitely worth it. It takes a while though. Yeah. Even if you're in the cohort, actually, even if you're in the cohort, you will still have to put in the effort to actually care about the human, try to make a connection, try to actually be genuinely interested in what folks are doing, right? In the end, it's a mutual exchange. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go through a few more. What's up, Saurav? I think you're Saurav. Just rolled into C10. Awesome. Tips and books recommendation. Um, I do have a few book recommendations. 3 books. I don't know which of these three are available in India. I think at least one or two of these should be. Um, Designing Interactions by Mogridge. About Face. That's the other one. And 52 Principles of UX. I might be getting the title slightly wrong. I'll show you guys. I'll show you in the cohort. Um, it's actually outside in my office. It's just okay. Let me show you guys this. Okay, book recommendation. I'm gonna give you some book recommendation. Question to you guys: should I go to my library? I can show you some good books. Are you guys interested? I could open it up on Amazon. It's just I don't remember the names of the books, but it's outside. I can show you guys. Interested? Okay. Because I thought a lot of books, like a lot of, I personally don't like the standard recommendation. I don't like things like design of everyday things and all. Boring, bro. But I found some really good books. Okay. My mic is going to be off for a sec. Okay. I'm just going to show visual, but come with me. Okay. Come with me on a tour of the office. Actually, not a tour, but let me take you to. So let me show you guys some interesting stuff. Can you switch on the lights, bro? This one. Can you guys hear me? So this is a good one. Universal Principles of UX. Check this out. This is a very easy read. You can, in fact, start getting actionable stuff right from this cover itself, right? So this is a good one. Number one, take a screenshot, guys. Okay. Number two, um, this one, designing interactions, right? This one is by Mockridge. This is not really a textbook or something like that. This is more of interviews. So this you get to learn from the experiences of these folks. Okay, so check this out. This is a nice one. Third book I would recommend is this, About Face, right? So this is Essentials of Interaction Design. Um, this is by a very popular design consultancy out there called Cooper. They uh, this is a good one. Okay, so hopefully one of these days we have a, like, the office here. I do want to do a library hours where we I can actually come and read design books. Like, that's a idea I've had for a while that I want to act on. But these three books, these are pretty good. Okay, did you guys catch that? I'm back on my screen. I wasn't seeing the comments and stuff. Was that useful, guys? Yeah. Sit back up. Those are nice books that I would suggest. If you guys, any of you here, if you're attending a session, if you're ever attending one of our IRL sessions in the office, you will have a chance to not borrow the books, but you will definitely read it in the office at some point. Yeah. Okay. You guys saw all that, right? Like the audio didn't cut out or something. Yeah. You guys saw the three books that I recommended. Batao. Tell me in the chat. Because I wasn't seeing the comments, right? I just took the cam and went. Okay. Those would be my top three recommendations. Yeah. Very specific to UI, UX, product design, interaction design. Question from Lostbot: how to get the best out of an internship job in the first 3 months? We talked about this in one of the previous streams. I will say this: the best you can do is form connections with folks, right? I know I've been saying this word connection. It is really that important. 3 months, your first 90 days. In fact, if you're in the cohort, we even have a session called the first 90 days. It's a month 4 session. But in your first 90 days, my suggestion: ask questions because you're not expected to know anything. So there are no stupid questions. Number two, form connections such that even if after 3 months you decide to do something else, you should have a good kind of rapport on a personal level with at least a couple people in the company, right? Like, I can tell you this: the first design job is probably the hardest because you have the least amount of connections when you start out. But talk to any experienced designer out there, they will tell you that their past managers call them up and say, "Hey, bro, I'm joining this new company. I'm setting up a new team. Do you want to join?" Now, that doesn't happen to everyone, but it happens to a lot of people. Why? It's because if you have rapport with some folks, before they publish a job post on LinkedIn or whatever, they will first see, is there somebody directly in my network who can join, right? So, best out of an internship job, you want to form a connection. Now, I've said all this. Oh, you want to form a good enough connection that they say, "Oh, bro, I'm joining this new food delivery app. Come join me." Don't be so outcome driven when it comes to connections, right? That's a general tip I'll give you. First 90 days, be curious, ask how and what questions. You can also ask why questions, not a big deal. How and what questions I feel like are a little bit more practical. Sometimes why questions, people feel like, oh, bro, you're judging me. Like, why do you do that? That feels a little bit judgmental. Or you be like, why does this happen? And you might feel like, fuck, am I supposed to know this? Am I already supposed to know this? You might feel clueless, right? Dumb question. You might feel that way. But a how question, how do you do that? How did you create this? How did you make that? People love to explain it, right? So you want to ask a lot of how questions. What questions as well? What is the implementation edition module, right? Typically, companies have a lot of these internal terms that they use, right? Like whatever for different products, or they have certain terminology. So you want to ask a lot of what questions, like what is that? How does that connect to what you are doing? How is this related to this, right? So how and what questions, ask a lot of them, and focus on making these connections, right? Like there should be some people in the company that you want to be like, hey bro, Friday, like, hey, you want to go out for dinner, like you want to hang out, like you should a little bit feel excited about meeting these people outside of a work context, right? Like find some people who you can actually gel with, that you can make this connection. To me, that's the thing I would optimize for to get the most out of an internship job. Besides that, with internship, here's the thing, not you probably will not get the most impactful or crazy projects, right? Because you have to prove yourself as an intern. And so building these relationships and being curious shows a very positive signal that this person probably will last here for a while. They're not from coming from the mindset of, bro, anyway, 3 months later, I'm going to leave. So who gives a fuck about these people and these jobs and all this, right? Be curious, form connections, ask a lot of how and what questions, and of course competence, that's key, right? So whatever you're given, give it your 150%, bro. Like, wherever, like, really outperform. And what I mean by that is over deliver, right? Like if somebody's like, hey, need to do this, go above and beyond wherever you can. Now of course that takes a lot of effort and energy, but do it, right? Set a really good impression. People like working with other competent people, especially if you're curious, especially if you take an interest in their work. So definitely do that. Yeah. Avinash, what's up, Avinash? He says, I've been watching your videos for the past 3 years. Because of your videos, I got my first internship at a startup. Currently doing my second internship at an early stage. Thank you. Thank you, Avinash, for letting me know. Awesome to hear that. Um, keep doing it. Keep going. Nice. Glad I could help in whatever small way possible. Yeah. Cool, guys. We're almost at the 2 hour mark. So I'm going to drop off a little bit in a bit. Kritik, I see, Kritik, you had a question. How do you ship your designs? How to bring design ideas to life for a person who hates coding? Now, Kritik, I can tell you, I'll give you my honest answer. Right? I don't want to lie to you or something. I have a product designer on my team who's really good. In fact, I have multiple who are really good at Webflow and Framer. So a lot of the work we do currently at Entity Designs is more website related at the moment. Although other projects, yeah. Anyway, point being, somebody on my team does that. Personally, I am huge into Webflow, right? So I've been doing Webflow for 4 or 5 years now. So I use Webflow for whatever projects I use. Besides that, for a person who hates coding, bringing ideas to life, my suggestion would be, it's difficult bringing ideas to life, but all designers, all of you guys, you can at least bring a prototype to life. Okay. So that's something I will stress upon, which is, even if you don't have the full coding capability to create something that is insane high quality, good enough to ship and will work without any bugs, people can use it. Even if that's far away for you, you should at least be able to make a prototype of your idea, which is bringing it to life. This prototype doesn't have to be have 100% functionality work perfectly, but it needs to feel as real as possible to the final, to whatever the reality that you're trying to bring to mind, right? So my suggestion definitely would be go deep into prototyping. Even coding, you don't have to learn to code like fully in-depth production ready stuff, but you should probably be able to use these AI coding tools to make prototypes, right? So definitely do prototypes. Beyond that, bro, I can tell you this, right? There is a lot of ideas I would like to bring to life that are apps, iOS apps. I don't know how to make iOS apps though. Could not learn Swift, rather, I didn't put enough time. And yeah, I know I could use an AI tool to make iOS apps, but I'm just way too busy with other stuff. So yeah, there's certain things even I want to make that not been able to. I know I could work with an iOS dev and do it, but even that takes effort, right? And now I've got too many things going on. So yes, some stuff outside of reach, some stuff you can make a good enough version using things like Webflow or even some of these AI tools. Rest of it, at least make prototypes, right? As a designer, you should never, like, the position you don't want to be in is, bro, I have crazy ideas, but I'm not able to bring them to life, which kind of puts you in a not great position, right? Because it's like, if you have crazy ideas, you're excited about them, you should be able to push to bring them to life. Point being, just because you don't know it doesn't mean you don't try. So try, at the very least, make prototypes, right? So even if it's just a Figma prototype where you put it on your phone or whatever and you show it to a person and they feel like it's a real app and you get to see that response, like that's awesome. That's better than just an idea that is 10 PNGs sitting there, right? Prototyping, at least do a good amount of prototyping. Yeah. And the thing with prototypes is they get people excited. Like, for example, I'll tell you this, right? With some clients in the past, in my jobs as well, I would try to convince my managers or whatever that we need to do this idea. It's such a good idea. I'll explain it to you. Like, why don't you see it? They'd be like, yeah, whatever, next time. But then when I do a prototype where I say, try this out, suddenly totally different response, right? So, prototypes, whenever you're stuck in this, do at least a prototype such that you can get people excited about your idea. If you're able to get people excited about your idea, very likely that the idea doesn't stop there, it goes one level further, right? So that would be my suggestion, Kritik. Mayur, what's up? Welcome to the cohort. Not that great in Figma. 70% done with Figma. Will I fit in? Yeah, absolutely, you'll fit in, bro. Don't worry about that. The cohort will be your opportunity to apply these skills to real projects with the support of me and Janil, with the support of these mentors. So before the cohort, I'm glad you're doing this little bit upfront work of getting used to Figma. That's good, right? Don't worry about it. Don't worry, bro. We're gonna have fun. All right. Few more questions and we wrap up. Okay. My throat is feeling a bit sore. Speaking for 2 hours. Parash says, "What do you think are the specific design skills I need to have to get into cred? And is there someone in the mentors from cred?" Yeah, there is somebody from the mentors, not in this cohort, but in the past. Mayank is from cred. He's been a mentor multiple cohorts. Bro, I'll give you honest answer, right? In the end, I don't want to give you false hopes and all this. You want to get into cred, you better be fucking cool, bro. Straight up. Might sound funny out of context, but earlier I was talking about this, like getting into these name brand companies like Blinkit, Swiggy. Point is, Swiggy has like compared to the number of users, Swiggy has, I don't remember. So, but I think they have like 20 or 30 designers. Now, guys, 20, 30 designers for an app that has, I don't know how many users Swiggy has. Let's just say 20 million. That's crazy, right? It's a very small group. Cred, even crazier. My suggestion, you want to get into cred, have something awesome that you've done, right? Like the cred people should look at it and be like, wow, what the fuck? That's fucking cool. Who is this guy? Right? In the end, cred is a cool company. Let's just be honest. And the bar that they have in terms of the culture, right? They don't want somebody who comes here and gets intimidated by other cool people, right? Being very honest with you. So actually getting into cred, there is a huge skill bar, of course, which is you want to be on the edge in the sense that you want to be doing things that not everybody else is doing. For example, you look at some cred designers, they are working with Unreal Engine, right, to make these 3D renders. They're working with prototyping tools like Rive, Play. Now, these are not very common, but then these are some pro tools out there. So you want a skill level very high. You want to be doing stuff at a very high level. You should have awesome projects that you've done before. But equally important is the culture bar, right? Really, it takes a specific type of person to get into cred. Like you have to be. Again, I can't talk about the specific qualities. I have not applied for it or been in that position. But yeah, um, huge cultural bar as well to be able to get in. Specific design skills, though, I gave you two examples, right? Do stuff on the edge. So, for example, do something with AI that is awesome. If you're in 3D, I know some folks doing Unreal Engine. Now, Unreal Engine for designers is a very rare skill. You don't normally see that. So, if you're able to create awesome outputs, right? It's not just the skills, it's also the outputs that you create. If you have the skill, but you're not able to create an output, you're not gonna, probably not gonna get in. Um, a third example I gave, this was more, so 3D, a little bit more around brand design, I would say. AI, if you can create something cool, awesome, right? Using stuff that's on the edge. From a product design perspective, you want to get into cred, have really good visuals for sure. But then I would say go deep into prototyping because cred is a very interactive app, right? So Rive or even Lottie Studio or Play, right? I think it's called Create with Play. That's the domain. Play. These are high fidelity prototyping tools. You want to use those. Yeah. How do you evaluate your understanding? Hey, Praveen. Evaluating your understand design intuition or taste level. Um, See, I can tell you a simple evaluation. Rate yourself out of five. Right? Just literally make a checklist. Rate yourself out of five. Let's say you have these three things. What's your total score on 15? Be honest with yourself, but then maybe try to actually measure this quarter over quarter. Right? That's a very rational way that I'll tell you. Right? Be honest with yourself. Give yourself a number and actually try to improve it. How do I do it though? I don't. The real test for me, right? Evaluation in the end is about actually testing ability. For me, how I evaluate it is good question, bro. Actually, got me thinking. Outcome is one, which is if I have good taste, my work should look awesome. Otherwise, what's the point of having good taste? Design intuition. Um, I would say this. So outcome is one thing, which is things like taste, but intuition, understanding, I think it comes via process, right? So let's say, so I work with a design team. I have a design team. We have one, two, three, four, five, four, five designers full time working with us. If my evaluation or understanding should be, I am able to, with my team, do stuff faster or do things in a streamlined way. So I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that. Mm. QWERTY UI or where to find jobs for XR design? No clue, bro. I really don't know. There's not too many out there. But here's the thing, right? If you're really good at XR design, you should probably know other people who are good at XR design. The real way to find jobs in niche fields is directly via humans, connections, right? And I don't mean nepotism, although nepotism doesn't apply here, right? For niche fields, here's the thing, right? Something niche, there are very few people doing it, and so they know each other. So XR design, if you already have the skills, you should be confident enough to connect with other people who have XR design skills. And once you do that, share your work, they will let you know what's happening in the field, right? That would be my suggestion. If you don't have the skills, well, then you should try to first connect with somebody, maybe try to find out what the skills are. But I can tell you, it's difficult. Like, it's not so mainstream yet. So the best way to do it is to find people who are already doing it and then get involved somehow. Yo, Manav, what's up? Curious to know what your current framework is to learning new things. Let's imagine you don't know motion design. How would you take it up? Hmm. See, I've usually had a very prototyping based approach, and I'll be clear what I mean. Um, let's see, guys. I want to in the thumbnail there was this one diagram, right? I just want to show you guys this. You've seen this? You guys seen this diagram? You've seen this somewhere online before? Hmm. The reason I wanted to talk to you about this is your question, right, Manav? This applies to a lot of other stuff we spoke about today, though. Just try to understand this graph for a sec, folks. Let's say I'm going to take this as a scenario to walk through this graph. So let's say I don't know motion design. How would I do it? Firstly, I'm I don't know motion design, which means my skill on the skill axis, I am less. If I take a crazy challenge, which is I'm like, I need to make something like cred, very likely that I'll get very anxious. Why? Because I'm like, fuck, I don't think I can do it. So there would be a lot of fear of failure. So technically, if you have low skill in something, you want to take on an appropriately sized challenge, right? So let's say if I didn't know motion design, I would take on something very small that I could actually do. Now, the thing is, if it's way too small, there'll be a little bit apathy. We'll be like, "Arey, bro, what's the big deal in this? I just did it." It's not going to be exciting, and I'm going to be like, probably not even going to feel good about it. But as I turn the skill level up, or rather, as I turn the challenge level up, I have to develop more skills, right? So now I start progressing on this line. If the challenge is too small and my skills are high, like for example, there's this idea of tutorial hell, right? People get stuck just doing tutorials. The reason is that is a little bit apathy state. Why? Because you do the skills, but then you do such small challenges that you don't feel like doing it anymore. So you get into this apathy. Okay, then I would keep scaling this appropriately, take on a bigger skill such that I have doubt. Now I'm facing doubt. What I want to do is I want to push my skill such that I don't feel doubt, but I feel like I feel more of like, okay, I guess somewhere here, but I feel like I can do it. So anyway, point being for me, usually what happens is, see, I can tell you the reason I'm talking about this is because it's a very relevant diagram, right? Um, I have, for example, I've been doing apps for 8 to 10 years. So now my skills in app design are crazy. I don't have fun doing a simple app because I just lose interest or it's just apathy. I'm like, bro, I already know how it's gonna go. Right. So for me in apps, there's not too much of a skill challenge. But I was really interested in prototyping. Once I got good at app design, I got into prototyping because then that became a challenge. Like, yes, I can design an app, but to do something with the motion design of cred, okay, now that's more of a challenge, right? So then my skills are pushed. And the thing is, the sweet spot actually is this rectangle that's drawn here, which is if you can appropriately challenge yourself, if there's not too much of a challenge, you'll get bored or you'll get scared. But if you can appropriately challenge yourself, you get into this flow state where you're not thinking about kya hone wala hai, what's the what will anything come out of this. It's also a challenge, so it doesn't feel boring. So you keep doing it, and this is the place to be, right? So to be more practical, if I didn't know motion design, how would I take it up? I would take up a small challenge. First challenge, then I would try to learn the skill to do it. Then I would repeat that again with a slightly different, bigger challenge, more skills. Every once in a while, the challenge will be too much and I'll get anxious. That's fine. Every once in a while, I'll do something way simple, and then, it won't really push me and I won't really stay consistent. But this is a good diagram that helps me think about this. Yeah. Makes sense, guys. Is this an interesting framework that you can relate to? Hmm. What's up, Darshan? Done a lot of things: sales, import, export, content creation. Awesome, bro. Brand design, UI projects. Now I don't know what to choose as a career. Darshan, what I will say, right? Since we were just talking about this diagram, you want to take something that is a challenge. So let's say you've done content creation, 5 million views plus, awesome. But what's the next level of that you don't feel like you have the skills for? That's one way you could look at it. Um, Another way you can just think about it is, see, think in terms of growth, right? What will give you growth? Where where can you make the most money? Where can you interact with the coolest people? Where can you work on a product that you actually enjoy? If you can find those, the specifics little bit don't matter, right? But honestly, Darshan, it's a tough one, right? It's a tough one. If you could do all, maybe you should do all. Maybe you should start an agency that one does one or more of these things. But besides that, if you feel like, you know, if you feel like you don't have other cool people to work with, then maybe that's what you should do, right? Go for any one of them, but the best network, the best future alumni, or the best folks that you can interact with on an everyday basis that you can actually learn from. So, what do you want to optimize for, right? Optimize for money, optimize for cool people, optimize for moving to a nice city, or optimize for, what would be most fun. For example, you might realize that, oh, brand design, I can do it, but then I'll have to compete with these people who are like way crazy at brand design. So I don't want to do that. But content creation, I have more fun doing it. And so you have to decide in this way. You have to choose a few important things. Um, yeah. Okay. Mayur says practicing Figma for UX 6 to 7 hours daily is putting pressure on me, and I have passion for gym. How do I balance? Should I cancel? Bro, Mayur, don't cancel. Go to your gym. Totally chill, right? I understand you have this pressure, but bro, just wait for session one, right? Point is, are you really going to perform better if you put more pressure on yourself? Or are you going to perform better if you're having fun doing it? So awesome that you're putting in this work. Keep it up. But don't forget to have fun, bro. Really, you know, most people that go through burnout, I've been through plenty burnouts, right? Last burnout was in December, I went through. You know why it happens? Why people get burnt out and then they take a huge break and then it breaks momentum. Burnout is difficult to get out of also. The reason people get burnt out is because they stop having fun. And so it becomes this thing of, you know, I think you get what I mean. So, bro, balance, right? 6 to 7 hours daily. Great that you're doing it, but bro, this is not JE. Design, you have to have fun while doing it. Otherwise, you're not going to last, bro. Something very serious I want to tell you all. More time spent is not a guarantee for better work. But the people who last the longest in this field, the ones who go on to do crazy stuff even later in their life, right? They're the ones who are having the most fun. And so they never stop to doubt themselves because there's always something that's pushing them, that's engaging them to do more. Nobody has to tell them to upskill and all this. They just do it because it's fun, right? Of course, bro, it's burnt. You don't want to be burnt out right now, right? Have fun. Like really, go and have some fun. Sounds weird, right? Like, but yeah, have fun, bro. Really. Lakshay, you're spot on about this. What's up? Chill while designing. It ain't mehnat mazduri, bro. Absolutely, it's not. 6 to 7 hours, bro. We're not riding for Swiggy. We're not riding for Swiggy making deliveries. The more deliveries we do, the more money we make. No, we want to stay calm and cool. We want to find cool stuff out there, and we want to be like, oh, how can I do that cool stuff? If I'm able to consistently do cool stuff, I can get to work with other cool people. The more cool people I work with, the more cool opportunities they will present. The more cool opportunities I work for, the more relevant I become in my circles. The more relevant I become in my circles, the more people will reach out to me. The more people reach out to me, more opportunity I have to make more connections. And bro, the money figures itself out after that, right? So definitely don't get burnt out, bro. Do not get burnt out. Have fun. Figure out how to have fun. Yeah, Daya, spot on, bro. Uh, keep look. Daya says, so true, Lamau. I keep looking for excuses to make stupid websites to keep myself sane. Yeah, bro. Absolutely right. I totally agree with this. So, bro, next time, Mayur, my suggestion, okay? How to have fun. Order yourself a nice Blue Tokai Vietnamese iced coffee. Sit down, have your notebook open, have a nice view, put on your favorite music, open Figma, have fun. Okay. Nilesh says, my manager told me I'm not fit for product design because in my startup, my role is more of a generalist. Okay. Who's into graphic design, video editing, motion graphics, product design. I really want to get fully into PD, but how would I do that being a generalist? Now, Nilesh, I can understand your manager's POV, which is you are the person, like usually generalists, right? Generalists are the one who take on responsibilities in the sense that don't worry, I will figure it out, right? That's the kind of mindset of generalists. Now, your manager doesn't want to lose that by making you a one track guy. So, honestly, my suggestion, if you're doing all of this stuff, opportunity that you have is to actually put together a creative director portfolio, right? So, yes, one option. Now, you say you want to get into PD. Okay, you can do that. But I would say, why not do everything, right? It's rarer to find people who can do everything. So, if you can keep that up, awesome, right? Um, Other than that, if you fully want to get into PD, see, I won't say it can't happen in your company, but if PD, if product design is not the most important thing in your company, or if they already have PDs, it would be a waste to put you there, bro. Honestly, it's much easier to find somebody who does just product design than it is to find somebody who does all of these things to a decent level. It's much harder to find this. So, from a founder perspective, if I could hire somebody who just PD and they were awesome, great. But then if I could hire somebody like this who could do multiple, that's even better, right? So, I would think twice about this. Um, Good that you want to get into PD. Maybe do some projects of your own, or maybe the next one you can figure out how do I position myself such that I get to do more PD. But the point is, if PD right now is your not your strong suit, of course a company would want you to use your strengths, and your strengths seem like somebody who can do multiple things, who can take on responsibilities and figure things out. Okay, coming back to the fun question. Okay, so talking about Mayur, I'm 19 years old, dropped out of college, and I have a fear of missing out. So I think that putting hours, I will not miss out things. Okay, cool, do it, bro. But the thing is, the minute it stops getting fun, you're gonna find distractions to calm yourself down, and then you're gonna stop doing it, right? So it's okay that you're putting in the hours. And bro, you're 19, right? So you've got a lot of figuring out to do. Approach it with a sense of wonder. This is not JE, bro. This is not entrance exam. We got into design not because it makes the most money, but because it makes money and it's fun. I won't say money is not a thing. Of course, money is important. Lakshay, I'm liking your suggestions, bro. Talk to people. Yeah, talk to people. Figure stuff out from a sense of curiosity, not pressure. Build cringe shit. Yeah. Think about this, right? People with insane experience, they don't want to build stuff that comes off as uncool. They don't want to take risks that are too risky, but make something weird, right? Making something weird is really a competitive advantage because who else is making weird stuff? I mean, other than Daya and Lakshay, right? But here's the thing, weird stuff is more likely to get people's attention. Let's say you're making Twitter posting and stuff. Weird stuff is more likely to be a fun conversation in an interview. Making weird stuff is more memorable. Like, let's say I interviewed 5 people, I will remember the thing that was weird because it stood out, right? Out, broke the pattern. Yet most people don't want to do weird stuff. Lakshay says got fired, but I was low-key relieved because I won't have to build ideas which I don't have a say in. Yeah, true. And I'll tell you this, folks. You, you might be working in a SaaS company or something, and okay, I'm not personal experience. I'm just talking hypothetical, not personal experience. You might be working on a SaaS company, and every single day you like rugado, bro. You're like, I'm putting in 6 to 7 hours, and I need to improve the SaaS's activation metrics. And then next week you get fired, and then you're like, bro, I don't give a fuck about SaaS. Let's do the cool stuff, right? This is a learning all designers go through. Like, yes, people pay us money, we do stuff for them, it's cool. But the minute, like a lot of this shit falls apart the minute you realize, bro, what is this all for? If I'm at least I can have fun while doing it. Yeah. Making fun and making money. Personally, I think I'm a bit of a serious guy. And what I mean by that is I can't have just fun. I also need to be making money. At the same time, I can't make just money. I also need to be having fun. Right. And so it's for me, it's a strength and weakness in the sense that if I could only have fun, I know I would enjoy myself more, but the money thing a lot of times prevents me from having fun. At the same time, I am not the most successful founder in my circle, right? I know so many founders who are my friends who are more successful for me than me. But a lot of time they optimize hardcore for money. The fun part is a little bit negotiable for them, right? So I am unfortunately that's my strength and weakness. Yeah, I gotta have fun while doing it, but just fun I'm not happy with. I need to make a lot of money also. Okay, guys, I got to drop off. Okay, in a bit, but I'm having fun. So, mm. Raj says, "Have you figured out AI agents work automation?" Brainstorming, yes. UI design, no. Iterations, yes. One shot, one shot prompting outcome, no. But I am gonna go deeper into this. Agent specifically, no. Using ChatGPT hardcore, like I'm hardcore using ChatGPT for a lot of structured thinking. O1 model, that's something now I'm getting deeper into, which is, I mean, I don't know if you could call this agents, but I'll show you an example, right? Let's see if I can load this on time. I'm doing this O1 model. I came across this tweet that I was like, oh, fuck, this is so true. Um, Interesting, right? As a, okay, you know what? Let me bring it this. No, let me bring it this side. Real time alignment. as a designer, usually you don't have to work on design briefs unless you are a PM or you're like a senior designer, right? But the interesting thing, just one interesting thing I came across, if you want to use O1 prompts, you have to write a design brief. So really think about this, right? How weird or funny this is, that as a somebody who's an early stage designer, if you can find out how to write really good design briefs, and again, these briefs you don't really come up with, right? You synthesize them by speaking to people, getting business requirements, client call, taking your client notes, putting this all together. If you're able to do that and create a brief, now this template that I found, goal, what exactly your output looks like, warning, so things that you don't want things to look out for, and then context dump, right, which is like meeting notes. If you're able to do something like this, right, I feel like a lot of UX design is moving towards this direction. Like, and again, what I mean by that is UX design typically was a lot of discovery and then synthesis and then taking these data and figuring out how to make insights and actionable stuff out of this. With something like this, just to show you a cohort specific file, these are the mentors. What was I think something cool that I've started doing now is I'm doing custom GPTs for projects. So, for example, if you can take all your meeting notes, by the way, guys, underrated tool, right? Granola.ai. What a tool, granola.ai. Check it out. Okay, install it. You'll really thank me later. Granola.ai. You can take all your meeting notes, which granola.ai captures automatically. You can, of course, within FigJam itself, synthesize and do all this. But I think what's even more important or interesting is you can actually create custom GPTs. Now, again, this is not something you can't do without a custom. You could do this with prompting. But I think what's the next, like this, for example, was done, um, I think 6 months ago or 8 months ago, right? I did this 8 months ago. And I did this as part of cohort 9, right? We did this entire UX design process for a website and marketing website. Like, I think this was the brief. If I were to do this today, or rather, I will do it in cohort 10, um, I would do it this way, right? So, this is something actually, see, I can't say I'm going to be teaching this because I am myself going to be trying, but we are going to be experimenting on this together, right? In the cohort. So, how do you create a really good design brief such that you can get this? The other thing I want to show is this is something that I'm a little bit already doing, right? So, for example, if you were in the cohort, if you were in cohort 9, one of the briefs that you would have had the chance to work on would be this. So, this is a app for a startup equity management platform. Now, I did not include too much about what features to be included in all this because I was like, you set the scope, right? Basically, if you're working on this, set the scope. But this kind of, like, I can imagine myself if I went a little deeper and figured out, like, a little bit did what the product manager does, right? Like requirement gathering, putting this kind of structured brief. It would be dope. Yeah. So this is something I would suggest check out for those who are curious. Um, and again, the reason this is O1 prompt, for just to give the context, is O1 is a reasoning model, and so and so with O1, you typically, if you're using, let's say, 4.0, GPT 4.0 or Claude, you can go back and forth, right? The chat interface is actually the right interface for it. And so it'll ask you for context, you can edit the context, whatever. But O1, you want to kind of think about as, I mean, I think they call it the PhD level model. So with O1, the better one-shot prompt that you can do, which is come up with all this, like context dump here, I think would be a lot of client notes, meetings. Warnings, little bit would be the direction. Return format, I would say, think about, like, before you jump into Figma, what do you need to get started? Maybe it's your information architecture, maybe it's something like that. You could get it through this, right? Some really good outputs if you're able to manage this. Okay, guys, my camera has 5% battery remaining, so I think this is gonna cut out in a sec. Connect my charger. Here's the thing, guys. I would have dropped off like um I would have dropped off like 1.5 hours ago. I was not planning to do this long stream, but it's fun, no? So I don't need to motivate myself to do this. It's just fun. Yeah. On that note, I see a question. How do you describe UX process in the brief? You don't need to describe the UX process. You need to, okay, I'll show you something. Um, I did this stream, or rather, I uploaded this video just on Saturday, and it was a screenshot from that video. Let me see if I can find it. You don't need to describe the UX process. You need to know the problem to be solved, what the user desires and needs are, and what the outcome should look like such that you can take it forward. So it's more like this, right? Let's say if you were a head of design, really imagine that. If you're a head of design, you would never explain the UX process to somebody you hired. Because you would be like, bro, you figure out the best process. The goal should be this. So little bit working with these AI models, the mindset shift is also becoming you have to think like a creative director. You have to think like a head of design. Because in the end, these are kind of your interns, right? Um, yeah, what I wanted to show you guys, I can't find it right now, but it's in the latest video uploaded on Saturday. It's called Tech and Design Feels a Bit Weird right now. So in that, there's this one diagram about how we think about design process as designers, research, information architecture, wireframing, da 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 da, and how a founder might think about it. Problem to be solved, who for, what are the constraints. So a little bit requires thinking like a founder. For hands-on experience, though, folks, we're gonna have some interesting briefs in the cohort. 2 days left to apply, by the way. If you wanna give it a shot. Yeah, talking about having fun. This is a good one, folks. You should make a. This is a nice one. There, I think I saw this. I think I saw this in your stories. Yeah, you should make a unnecessary website for a house party. Why? Because anyway, work is work. You're getting to experiment, but it keeps that sense of wonder. Yeah. Avinash says design is fun. Okay. But I wonder, I like that word, bro. Keep up the sense of wonder. Question though is, would I be able to work for the rest of my life? What's your take? Should we start something on our own after working for 8 to 10 years? See, Avinash, the question I asked myself too. The first company I got in, I was so excited. I was like, bro, next 4 5 years, I'm gonna work my way up to the ranks and I'm gonna become head of design. This is housing. 10 months later, the whole team, layoffs and whatever, and then the whole Rahul Yadav shit happened, and company was not in a good position. I didn't get laid off, but I wished I had. But then anyway, point being, it's a discovery process, right? So the fact that you said, I wonder, that is the right approach to have, which is, I wonder how long we can keep this up. You and me both. Like, I wonder how long we can keep this up. Because for me, already I feel like I don't want to be like, oh, I mean, I know I'm a little bit ahead. Um, I would not really be the reason I'm running 10K designers, like basically my own thing, making YouTube videos, because this is the fun thing for me. I know I could still do a good job if I joined, let's say, an academy again or a similar startup. But then I would have to stop doing all this stuff, which is kind of fun. Um, but does that mean I will never go back to a job, never be a head of design or whatever again? I can't say, right? We're gonna work for at least the next 30 40 years. Like, I think everything that has happened will happen again, and then happen a second time and a third time, right? Like, little bit there's a lot to go. Okay, guys, I'm gonna wrap up shortly. I know I keep saying that, but Getting a bit tired. Like, good thing is I'm on my standing desk, but I'm not standing today. Some of you might not know this. Every single stream, almost 80% of them, I've done it while standing, so it keeps my energy up. Today I'm sitting though, which is why I'm even able to keep up. What's up, Adya? Last year, started learning UX, looking for opportunities. Do you have suggestions for how to proceed ahead? Adya, I would say at this point, let's say you know the fundamentals because you said you started last year. Two things that are most important: connection and portfolio. Connection, as in you want to know other people in the design field, whether that's people 1 or 2 years ahead of you, 3, 4 years ahead of you, mostly so that you know what's happening right now. Like this dish, what's happening right now, you typically can't find it on the internet. You have to find it through connections and conversations, right? Because, yeah, it's fresh info. So, connections would be one thing I would say focus on in whatever way you can. Second one would be portfolio, which is to go one step further. It's the projects. Are your projects interesting? Firstly, interesting to you such that you are excited to work on it and you really pushed and you created something that you love, that you're proud to have on your portfolio. That's important because the energy that comes off in an interview usually depends on how excited you are about your own projects. And so if there's something you just did randomly, you might not, um, whatever, you might not have given it your 100% if it was just a, oh, I'm doing it as a college thing or whatever. So Adya, my main suggestions: content, I mean, connections, and then the contents of your portfolio. Although I will say, if you're interested in enrolling in the cohort, we have like 2 more days left. Uh, the reason I say that is not like you have learned stuff, but then I would say if you feel like the portfolio bit is missing, the next 3, 4 months you could work on some awesome projects with some of these mentors. Um, yeah, it'll probably help you solve for the connection part as well, connecting with mentors, connecting with the industry. Now that I'm in Bangalore, I'm meeting a lot more founders. So I'm actually getting a lot of design briefs from them and hiring interest from them. Right? Like only WhatsApp. They're like, Bhai, can you help me? This, that. So I also personally am trying to make a lot more connections with the cohort members and with the new incoming members because I will have to refer you guys to the founders, right? In some ways, it's a win-win. If I'm able to connect some of you guys to founders with confidence that I know they can do it, it's great because in the end, that's what a founder wants from me. They want me to help build their team and then figure out the design org within their company. Yeah. Kritik says, talking about the AI thing, workflow that my colleague uses Granola, Perplexity, Claude, and then low fidelity React screens. Yeah, this is a good one. In fact, I came across there's this channel on YouTube of this design guy who does these AI demos. And what I found is one interesting workflow is making your wireframes with code. So wireframes typically we would do as a sketch, right? Reason why is we do it as a exploratory discovery, like iterative activity while sketching. Uh, wireframing with like wireframing and prototyping together using these um, code generators, either Claude itself or yeah, it's a good workflow. Although I do want to try this in the upcoming cohort. Yeah, because I think that's awesome, right? If you can make wireframes which are actually clickable React prototypes, that's amazing. That's really fucking good. Yeah. Mm. Adya, I would love to give feedback, although you can't really share links in the chat right now. Drop me a DM, or if you've applied for the cohort, you've probably given the link. I can also check that out. Um, yeah. Naveen, what's up, man? Do you think no code web builders like Framer have good demand in the future? I think so. I came across this interesting statistic, which is most websites Let me see if I can pull this up. This will be a hard screenshot to find. I'm literally going through my camera roll. If I find this though, guys, it's gonna be dope. Let me see. Yeah, I got it. Okay, check this out. Came across this tweet. Um, Basically, the data on CMS, what I mean, it's specific on CMS sites, but you could kind of see this as a general trend. Most CMS sites on the internet are WordPress. Now, if you're doing WordPress design, you're probably using something like Elementor or one of these page builders. Wix is second, which I think also includes Wix Studio. Squarespace is third. I've never met a designer who uses Squarespace. I just don't know. Webflow, you can see it's like significantly lower, but Webflow higher learning curve as well. I'm a all in Webflow guy. My team is all in on Framer though. I mean, they know Webflow, but they're more Framer specific because they're faster at making interactive sites with Framer. Canva, again, I have not used the website builder for Canva. But point being, Naveen, you can probably imagine how this graph grows, right? Like, um, moving forward, people don't really want to use WordPress. Although, what this shows is probably that there's a lot of WordPress demand in the market. So if you can use Elementor and these kind of page builders, there's probably a lot of clients here. And also, I don't know a single designer who's doing WordPress design, right? It's seen as unsexy. So if you want to do something that's crazy, I mean, that's something that's already crazy beyond mainstream, you would probably go in here. If you want to do something that's in the future, it feels like Webflow or rather Framer has been around for a while and it's saturated. But guys, it's just the start. Yeah. And Lakshay, you're right about this, which is, folks, if you've been following, you know that design community, Twitter, like really the number of designers today who are also developing websites has never been higher, right? I can tell you 2 years ago, it was not like this. It was not normal for designers to also be coding websites and actually doing final sites out there. But it's catching on, right? This is December 2024, by the way. So we know frame, like even Webflow feels like, I feel like Webflow has been around for 7 years. It's saturated. No, guys, this goes up. These two go up. And again, you can also use AI to directly build sites, right? So this specifically is CMS because landing pages, static sites, you can just build them with code and not even writing code. You can build them with generating code, generating CSS, importing a framework, you know, using Tailwind with your prompt, with your AI, whatever. But CMS, which is when things get data heavy, you will you will need these tools. And so think about this. Think about what you want to be. Uh, Also, I will say this for those of you who want to be more on the freelance side, you want to have some more independence, work on your client projects, not be a little bit corporate. And again, I don't mean this for life, right? If you want to take a if you want to take a switch in life and get more into doing solo projects, working on sites. For example, Lakshay says, I know a lot of designers who've achieved $5,000 to $10,000 MRR. That's monthly recurring revenue through Framer and no code, right? The thing which there was a related question. Somebody was saying, is UI UX design saturated? The point is, if everybody's trying to apply for Swiggy, Cred, Blinkit, yeah, that's a tough game. So it's not saturated, but it's competitive. But these kind of niches do exist, right? And the advantage, the reason I love being a designer is because I don't have to play one game that everybody is competing for. There's so many games out there, this being one of them. Yeah. My team, though, we are building capability in Webflow and Framer. That's our preferred tool of choice. What's up, Shrup team? Excited, bro. Looking forward. We are very close to this happening. Our month one starts. One sec. Our month one starts this Saturday. So that's going to be fun. I saw a question about the IRL stuff, which is how many sessions we're going to have IRL. Folks, Just an FYI, those of you who are not enrolled in the cohort, we are also going to be doing events in this space that are not exactly 10K specific. We want to keep it open to general creative people, cool people. Usually weekends, although we're also thinking about the Friday evening slot. So I'll be posting about this on Twitter when we eventually do figure it out. The team is working on this. Like one of the ideas, actually, I won't say it, but we have some cool event concepts. Um, yeah, 2 days to go to apply. Those who are interested. Nishkarsh, what's up, bro? No code platforms like Bubble or Flutterflow. Flutterflow, I'm not sure. Never used it. I don't think it. I don't know. No idea about Flutterflow. Bubble, my opinion, I don't know how correct I am on this, is that useful, but a lot of stuff you can do with Bubble, you can now do with code directly. So, no code in some ways is going through a renewal, or it's going through a change, which is you can prompt generate code and create something just as good. Although Bubble, I do think it is a very structured way of doing it. To make a career, though, not sure. I think they're both viable alternatives, but depends on what type of projects you want to do. Useful skill to have for sure, but what do you apply it to? It really depends on that. Yeah. Skills to learn with UI UX. See, you said Bubble. I will say prototyping is a big one. And the reason I say prototyping rather than no code Bubble, the reason I'm calling it prototyping is you'll be able to create React wireframes. That's prototyping. You'll be able to create, like, ability to create React wireframes. That's still prototyping. You're creating a code prototype, high fidelity or even medium fidelity. Things like using a Rive, Play, Principle, Protopy, that's prototyping. That's a very valuable skill even today. Um, Other than that, learn to speak, bro. Like, in the sense that learn to be persuasive, learn to talk. I think moving forward, like right now, we feel like making content and like being on reels, like as a creator, it feels optional, right? But really imagine this in a couple years, not having a social presence is kind of going to become a liability. Like, um, I think we're all going to have to become content creators. And I say that for myself also because I'm not active on reels, but I think I should be more. So, skills to learn, definitely communication is a big one. Um, a rare skill that I will say here that I don't think anybody else will suggest this. Um, Emotional fluidity. That's something I am learning. That's my number one skill to learn for this year, which is emotional fluidity, the ability to feel every single emotion while not getting paralyzed by it. Another example of this would be something like courage, right? When things are difficult, like when we were talking about this diagram. The thing is, bro, y- like we want to do very challenging stuff, but we don't typically have the skills for it. Like skills are developed over time. But then the more challenging stuff you want to do, the more anxiety. So, for example, let's say you want to launch a design agency. You are going to be like, oh, fuck, there's so many designers making 5K, 10K MRR. And now your anxiety is going to be up because for you, that's a big challenge, right? So, for me, emotional fluidity is the skill I'm working on, which is I kind of learned this that courage, the concept of courage, it's not, courage doesn't mean not feeling fear. It means feeling fear and being okay with it, and then navigating this whatever the emotional map is. So that's the weird niche answer on that. Yeah. You mean to be a chill guy? Absolutely, bro. That's the skill. That's the next wave. That's the next wave, to be honest. How to be a chill guy. Yeah. Nishkash, the other question that you were talking about before the bubble thing we spoke is, in college learning UI UX, will I get a job if I have the right skills? Bro, Nishkash, skills, yeah. Connections is the second one. Use your skills as an excuse to make connections, or use it as a way to show that you are somebody worth connecting with, or use it as a way to, you know, uh, make connections in general. Skills, yes. Projects is the second one. Connections is the third one. These three together, absolutely, you will be able to get a job. You will. It's a path, though. It's not. It still has to be figured out. But yeah, totally possible if you're able to do these three things to a decent extent. Yeah. And you saying you're a graphic designer, bro, you've got a huge advantage. You're working at a graphic designer at a marketing and communications agency. What you really should be figuring out is, how do I spend as much time as possible with the senior folks in that agency? So find the creative directors, the art directors, spend as much time as you can with them. Number one. Number two, figure out on the communications perspective, what can you do for your personal brand. Personal brand, um, not going to go away. It's going to be as important as it's going to be even more important than it is right now moving forward. Yet we know this. Most people are not going to, or have an innate fear of putting themselves out there. And so if you can get over that somehow, figure out your communications. How do you do that? That would be a big advantage. How do I cringe max my way to post on X? Feels weird to talk about my work. Don't talk about your work. Talk about what you're doing. Talk about what you're doing. Talk about how you're doing it. Wait for people to ask you why you're doing it. Follow them, make mutuals. That's a connection. Go DM them, being like, what are you working on? Remember this, okay? The goal of posting on X is not like, it'd be nice to get likes and retweets. It's to make connections. Any person on X, if somebody likes your post, you have the permission to DM them. Say what's up, right? That's a connection. So think about it this way. If you want to convince your mind to post more on Twitter or LinkedIn, post something, not will this get likes, will people like this or whatever. Post something that is provocative, that gets you to connect with somebody, or gives people an excuse to connect with you. Right? That's a little bit what you want to do. So, in fact, posting a really clean UI, nobody might, people might not reply to it. Posting a weird UI, people are going to be like, yo, what the fuck? How do you do this? Or why did you do this? Okay. Nice. Nishkash, 7K followers, LinkedIn. That's good. See what you can post there. Again, connecting this to the previous thing I was talking about with Praveen, right? It's good that you have 7K followers. Now, can you use those 7K followers to make 7 really good connections? That's your challenge, right? You've got the numbers. Now let's go with the depth, which is, you've got the wide connections out there. Now let's do the deep connections. Find 7 people you can really connect with somehow. Okay, guys, that's about it. I'm going to wrap up today. So, those of you who are interested in enrolling, we have 2 days to go. This is what our next 16 weeks are going to look like. You will have access to the space as well. We're going to do events. I think I'll try to keep these streams going, though, even when the cohort is going on. Although my primary responsibility is going to become cohort sessions. Yeah, couple days to go. 2 days to go. Thank you, guys. Thanks for hanging out. This was fun. See you somewhere else, IRL, or see you somewhere else on the internet. Bye bye.